Hello and welcome to the Saratoga Springs Planning Commission for May 26th. We're going to delay. We don't have a quorum present at this time. Apparently there's quite a bit of traffic coming here, so we're going to wait a while until we have at least 4 people present on the commission, and then we will begin at that time. I just wanted everyone to know why we haven't started at 6 o'clock. Thanks. So at this time, we're waiting for a quorum to be present before we start the meeting. If you're watching on YouTube or just arrived late, that's why we haven't started the meeting. Normally, we start the meeting at 6 o'clock, but we're just waiting for 2 more people so we have a quorum to start. Okay, we have 3 people. We're still waiting on one more, and I have 3 people en route, so hopefully one will get here soon. And then we'll start the meeting. Okay, it's time for another update. I'm still waiting for one other commissioner. We have 3 en route. Hopefully, one of them will be here soon, and we'll start the meeting as soon as they get here. Thanks. We have number 4 walking in the door right now. Okay, so, all right, we're ready to start. I'll let everybody get in their places now. Welcome again to the Saratoga Springs Planning Commission for Thursday, May 26th. I will lead us in the pledge. Will the audience please rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The audience may be seated. Okay. First item, our next item is roll call. We have 2 more commissioners that are going to come, and we'll welcome them as soon as they get here. Commissioner Barton is not available this evening, and she is excused, and we currently have a quorum present, so we're able to proceed. The next item is I'm going to turn the time over to Ken Young, who has a presentation.
Okay, we would like Planning Director David Stroud to come forward to be embarrassed. So, as is tradition, when someone is leaving employment with the city who's been here for a while and done a lot for the city, they are granted a street sign with their name on it. So, David Stroud, this is your street sign. David is moving on to other employment, and so we just wanted to thank you for your time. It's been almost 5 years with the city. And in that time, we've seen almost double growth of the community. And Dave's been responsible for the processing and preparing for approval of many site plans and plats in the community. So it's definitely imprint here. So we wish you luck, Dave. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next item, which is public input. Time has been set aside for any person to express ideas, concerns, comments, questions, or issues that are not listed as a public hearing on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Okay, I will go ahead and close the public input time, and we'll move on to our next item. Item number 4 is a business item, Holiday Oil Site Plan and preliminary plat located approximately the southwest corner of Redwood Road and Pony Express. Brent Neal is the applicant, and Gina Grand Prix is presenting. Is the applicant here this evening? Would you like to come up and join us?
Just have a seat there. Good evening, planning commissioners. This, if I can make sure do you have? Thanks. The application that is before you tonight is the Holiday Oil Gas Station and C. It is located at the crossroads of Redwood Road and Pony Express on the southeast side of that. This is the applications that you're reviewing today and making decisions on. You're making a decision on the site plan and making a recommendation for approval or denial on the preliminary plat. And again, Brent Neal is the applicant. This plat is one lot of 2.5 acres. In the Wander Community Plan, it is slated as neighborhood commercial for specifically for this gas station and gas station, convenience store, and car wash. The site plan, again, it will include 14 gas pumps, the C-store, and a fully automated car wash. It is zoned planned community, which is the Wander Community Plan. And this is how the lotting plan is in the village plan. So the community plan just illustrates that this is kind of the bubbles of where things are going to go. And they did put neighborhood commercial on this lot. The property was previously owned by SLR and then sold to the applicant or the developer, which is Holiday Oil. One thing that I handed out to you on today is we hadn't received the staff report from the engineers, so that is here with this. But also, I failed to give you the second page within the community or village plan that illustrates the uses that are allowed within the neighborhood commercial zone or area of the village plan. And so the first amendment to the Wander Village Plan 1 included the addition for the refueling station, as well as a C-store and a car wash for the allowed uses within this neighborhood commercial zone, per se, under the village plan. So that allows this use to go in there. And they specifically did this for the intent of allowing for Holiday Oil to come in on that property. This here is the preliminary plat. You'll see that again that it is 2.5 acres. It's not on any sensitive lands. It does have landscaping. It meets all of the landscaping code. It provides the buildable area and so forth. Here is the site plan. It's pretty basic. So you'll see that the site includes the convenience store, the 14 gas pumps, and the car wash. It does include 23 parking stalls, including ADA stalls as well. Here's the landscaping. It was a little challenging for this front because it didn't get platted within the Oakwood Homes subdivisions. It was SLR's property. They had done a subdivision exception. So the applicant was very gracious in working with Oakwood Homes to incorporate the landscaping that is within the village plan. And they worked really great with them. And so they were able to provide a semblance to what is within the Wander community. So there is a flow of what this community plan really is. So they did go to great lengths to accommodate that and meet our code in regards to the landscaping around the buildings, the landscaping, to provide the berm up against Pony Express and so forth. So and Redwood Road. So they've gone to great lengths to be able to provide that information with what meets our code. As you'll notice in the village plan, it does outline that any commercial that comes into this development, into this community plan is required to follow our code. And that's why you're being it today, because that's what our code requires, is that the commercial lots or parcels are to be reviewed according to our Title 19 code, which is before the Planning Commission and the council. These are the elevations. You've got the normal holiday oil type design. There's the other sides. They did provide pictures of their current units to show what's going to happen with those. There's the floor plan, and staff recommends approval for these two applications. Again, like I did with Saratoga Dignity Care, I separated them out. I thought I got all of the I also move, but I did fail to miss one. But there is a recommendation, motion for both the preliminary and site plan. Any questions?
Thank you, Gina. Does the applicant have anything you'd like to add?
No, not at this time, other than we're excited. I mean, we're in some of the surrounding cities, in Eagle Mountain and Lehigh, and excited to come to Saratoga Springs. And in the future, we want to have some other properties as well. So you should be seeing us over the next 2 years pretty often. So
Good, because I have a club membership. So.
there you go.
Okay. I will go ahead and turn this over to the commission for questions and comments. Commissioner McConkey.
How far is it from, let me start with this. We got a busy intersection that's going to
Correct.
get busier and busier.
Right. There is the extension of Pony Express that should be done by this fall. So yes, and that's one of the things that the applicant has worked tirelessly over. They had their access off of Redwood Road approved by UDOT prior to them even applying for these applications. Pony Express is obviously going to provide additional traffic. It's a perfect intersection for this type of use, and I believe they've done what we've asked them to do as far as incorporating it into the neighborhood so that it meets our code regarding neighborhood commercial uses. So yes, you are correct. This is going to be an even busier intersection.
And it's a strategic location for a gas station.
Absolutely.
Really, and especially right now. One of my concerns, of course, is just the traffic being able to pull in and out of there, especially left turns into and left turns out of that space. Is the state putting islands?
So
on
the one
those
on UDOT is going
roads?
to be a right in, right out.
Pardon me?
The access on Redwood Road is going to be a right in, right out. And they want us to match the same curb pork chop like the Smiths has down the street. So it will be more regulated as far as no left turns going out on, heading southbound out of our property on that access.
How's that gonna work? You said a curb,
A pork chop.
pork chop, I don't even know what that is.
So it's more designated for right in, right out. So it's a raised curb, so cars can go over it. I mean, they're not 100% effective.
Oh,
It's like a
Correct.
little
Yeah,
island.
diamond
right,
shape,
yeah.
okay,
Correct.
okay, and that's on Redwood Road?
On Redwood Road. And the other one operates as a full access onto Pony Express.
Okay, and that one almost seems even worse because you're closer to the intersection.
We've met the city engineering and the distance requirements that the city allows, but
What is the distance requirements what are the city's requirements there? The reason why I'm asking, I mean, we certainly have Smiths. That's a constant nightmare, and I'm just grateful for how kind, generally speaking, people are to let people get in and out of there, but there's been a lot of close calls and
Right. It is a frustrating intersection because of the access just off of Redwood Road into, just north, on the north end.
yeah.
Northwest
And we
corner,
got
right?
Chevron further up north, but there's islands. There's no way to do a
Right.
left-hand turn out of there, which I think, while it's inconvenient, it protects all of us.
yeah, and on Redwood Road, I mean, if it comes to the time of that, UDOT will determine if a median is necessary, and they'll recommend that, and we have to abide by their recommendations.
Yeah. So how close are they to the city's minimum distance on Pony Express?
I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it's something like 150 feet from a driveway to a major arterial, like Redwood Road.
And I believe they do meet that requirement. There were extensive conversations with Jeremy and I believe Jeff was involved with that, as well as Kyle Kingsley, who is the other engineer that worked on this. They partnered with Oakwood Homes to get the water line into the development as Pony Express went in as well. So there were a lot of moving parts with that. But as far as the intersection goes, they are standard.
Okay, well, I was looking for dimensions. Looks like your lot depth is 292 feet, which
Yeah.
subtract
The
and you've
50
got your access on the furthest east, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they meet the city standards, then I guess my concern will just be there. I won't be making a left-hand turn out of there. I don't know if there's anything more that can be done there. I do have some concerns with, are those propane tanks or natural gas?
So those are underground fuel tanks.
Oh, they're underground.
Correct.
Okay. Right out front? Okay.
And that allows our.
Those are
fuel-
the gasoline trucks, so they can park
Correct, yeah.
out front. Okay. That answers that question. Is there any way that the trash enclosure can be moved further back? Is that an option, possibility? I'm just looking for curb appeal and aesthetics from the street.
So one of the challenges with that will be truck access. So I believe they put it in a strategic place. However, I mean, you've got residences, you've got multifamily residential units on the south or on the east side. So if it were to come here in front of the car wash, if the car wash was to be backed up, it would be challenging for a truck to get in there. So I believe they would need to contact the
Okay.
sanitation services that we use in order to determine if
That
that
makes-
location is appropriate. I believe they would prefer it on the north.
Because they're in front of
west
the
side.
exit of the car wash.
Right, rather than the
Possibly.
entrance. Because if there's a backup on the car wash then and a truck comes in to dump garbage, they're
Yeah.
not going to be able to.
So I'm wondering if the applicant knows how many people wash their cars here?
There's some competition.
No, and I'm not talking about the competition, but you can get a pretty big backup. And so that was probably last of all, one of my concerns is where's everyone going to line up?
They'll have to line up
Okay.
behind the store because we had them do it this way. They actually had the car wash swapped or flipped to
Okay.
where the entrance was on the west side. However, the blowers next to residential, I don't know if you've heard the complaints from other car washes and close to neighborhoods, the fans are what are the biggest disturbance. And so that was one thing that was asked to be flipped so that those fans are as far away from those residential units as possible.
Okay. And so it fixes two problems.
Correct. And I think they would have plenty. I've seen Quick Quack Wash, not to single them out, but
And you're looking
everyone
over
wants
an
to wash
American
their cars.
Fork as well.
Right.
That one they spills out onto.
Washing cars and the traffic pattern there is scary. I've tried to go in there at my lunchtime to wash my car, and it's not possible. But I believe this does give the ability for them to do that, or for them to have a line.
Okay. All right. And then the last thing was, staff report was missing the minimum building size requirements on page 9.
Sorry, that was
So-
on this page that I handed out.
Okay.
Right there on
Oh.
your desk. The minimum lot size is 15,000 square feet, and the minimum building size, is 15,000 square feet. That I didn't see.
I'm assuming we verified it meets the minimum building
Yeah.
size for that.
Well, I mean, if you put all of the buildings together, you probably are close. I would have to look at that again. It's not right in front of me. So that would,
Okay.
you can make that a condition.
make that a condition.
Verify that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner McConkey. We have Commissioner Burns and then Commissioner Kilgore and then Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Kilgore.
Okay. Let's see. Since part of this process, this process is administrative, does the applicant, I like to always ask this question, does the applicant agree to comply with the conditions in the city planning staff packet?
Yes.
Okay. Notice that the back and right elevations don't have any windows. So are they in a location where the public can't see it, or it doesn't require the four-sided architecture?
Dave, can you switch the page to the landscaping? So the back, on the east side, so the back end of the building is, there's a wall that will separate the residential units from the store, so I don't believe windows are required there.
Okay.
It's the storefronts that are facing public roads. They
Right.
have to have the glass.
So the east side, if I read the elevations right, the east side does have windows.
Yes.
It's the west side and
So you have your east side, the front of the building, which is along Redwood Road.
Okay.
And then you have your north side, which is along Pony Express. Both of those have windows.
okay. And then the western, and the back doesn't.
West and,
So that's-
or the east and south side do not have windows.
Okay, and that's because they have a wall there and,
Yeah, so the windows aren't required to be on those sides
okay.
if they meet the other
Right.
requirement.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell from here, I guess, and I wasn't very good at looking at the overall map to figure out whether that didn't require it, so,
Yeah.
sounds good. Okay, and then, there were a couple or several don't complies with repeated comments, and just wondering if the applicant was able to, respond, but, non-residential lighting locations on elevations for wall-mounted fixtures.
Yeah, so there's three. There were the three repeat comments on those. Those are just things that I caught doing my last review. And so those red lines will go, and they're conditioned within the application, or staff report, if I can spit that out.
Okay,
Those are the three conditions. I made sure that we conditioned those three repeat comments so that those are addressed.
okay. And then I was wondering about I couldn't find it in the code. And I thought that with refueling stations, there's a certain number of feet that they have to be distant from residential. And I was wondering if like 500 feet or something.
Yeah, I would believe that the site plan does. I would have to measure that. I didn't do the full review on this. David Rogers did, and so I would have to go back and look at it.
Okay.
From what,
Yeah, 'cause I see
from
that-
his review, it does meet the code.
Yeah, the village plan allows you to have C-stores in this development. So from day one, when this project was approved,
Okay.
that requirement wouldn't apply in this case.
So, sorry, Commissioner, or Chairman Cunningham, I was reading the number wrong. It's a maximum of 15,000 square foot building. So this building is 4,000 something square feet. So it does meet the building size to answer that question. Or sorry, it was Commissioner McConkey.
Commissioner McConkey, yes.
So yeah, so the building size does meet the requirements.
On Commissioner Kilgore's question about the 500 feet, that's not a safety thing. That is, we don't want something going within 500 feet of existing homes, right? When we.
Yeah, on standard Title 19, that's a requirement. Of course, village plans, you can have separate requirements. You can vary a little bit. You can establish your own requirements. These would be a permitted use in that zone. And so in the original village plan and community plan where they identify neighborhood commercial, that would be I think it's neighborhood commercial, that would be the permitted uses there.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no, I thought we actually turned an applicant down for that reason. They were within two-
Under straight Title 19 zoning, yes. But again, with the village plan, you can have different requirements.
Okay.
And again, the fueling stations to the homes, I would have to pull up that map to show you where those townhomes are going to be in order to make that distance between them, because they are set back a little bit. There is a landscape. It's either, I can't remember off the top of my head, it's either a landscape strip or there is a driveway or a private road that runs along that fence that pulls those residential units back.
Yeah, I guess maybe, I know that it's a part of the village plan, but as you had said that this was a separate property, and so that's why.
It is a separate property, however, it is still encompassed under the community plan.
Okay.
So the community plan and village plan still govern this development. If you read the page numbers, I don't know, in the packet, that shows the village, the actual verbiage from the village plan.
Right.
It does say, and even on this, the following table outlines permitted and conditional uses, which obviously we don't do conditional uses any longer, for the neighborhood commercial land use zone under this section. So this outlines the permitted uses. And in the first page that outlines commercial development under the village plan, it outlines that the Title 19 is to be followed. So I believe your comment is valid, and I believe that we need to double check it. My understanding is it meets that code.
Yeah,
So-
so I'm, I mean, I could assume it does.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say it's non-compliance, but.
Right.
Again, that's what I was.
But it's a good thing to
Yeah,
check.
that's what I was thinking too, is
Sure.
that for those things that aren't listed, then the Title 19
Right.
prevails. It wasn't listed, and so that's
Right.
why I want to ask.
So
Yeah.
yes, so we need to verify that.
Okay,
I can definitely do that, and we'll make sure that that meets the code.
okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgore. Commissioner Burns.
So with the residential so close in the gas station being a 24-hour, I assume, gas station, is there any lighting there that we're like looking at? I mean, it just seems like a lot of.
Our code only requires that it is less than a 0.1 candle foot at property line, even with this type of use. Now, they can't have glaring lights that glare out. They have to be downward facing and so forth. So to answer your question, it's always a concern with these gas station canopies. I don't believe that it's open 24 hours.
No, so Monday through Thursday, it's till 11, then Friday and Saturday till midnight, and then Sunday till 10.
Now, are your gas pumps open 24/7?
Yeah, so anyone can come through and get gas, but as far as the C-store operates.
So the gas pump lights will be on 24
Right.
hours.
Right, so we do have requirements on that, and I believe they've met those requirements. Again, I would have to verify that.
Yeah, and they're actually a little bit lower. So on other sites, we've done 5,000 lumens. Here, it's 4,000 lumens, so they're not as bright as some of our other locations.
And they have to be, again, downward facing. I remember doing the Costco one, and this is a smaller canopy than that. So I don't believe it's going to I don't believe it's outside of our code.
Okay.
But again, I wasn't the planner that did the review. I just made sure all of it was done. I didn't go into the depth of that, but I can definitely look it up and ensure that that's correct.
Yeah, just a clarification on lights. Any business, I mean, we don't regulate what businesses can and cannot be open 24 hours. So if they are, all of our lighting still has to be fully shielded, has to be angled down. There are color temperature maximums they can have. There's any standard when you're adjacent to a residential zone. It has to be the photometric, which they have to supply a photometric plan to us, has to be 0.1 at a residential property line.
And this does meet that. In fact, most of the candle feet on the property line adjacent to the residential units is 0.
And the way they have the site set up to the canopies on the other side of the building, which then will hopefully give some more additional light buffer to those residences going in.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions from the commission? Commissioner McConkey.
Not the separation. They're not doing a fence between this, they're doing trees, is that, am I remember that?
No, I believe
correctly?
I believe it's a block wall.
No, there's a wall
there-
or a fence there.
There's a wall?
I believe so.
The resident, I
again,
believe
don't-
the residential plans will be putting in.
Look at your landscaping plans, there should be a fencing, it should indicate whatever this one is. Yeah, I can't see it. What is it, number 4 on the list? It shows, it points out what that type of fence is on your landscape plan. I didn't put it on the presentation because you have it in your packet
Oh, yeah.
on the landscape plan, which is, I don't know which page, I don't have it in front of me. But it should outline, it should tell you what kind of fencing, and I believe it's a CMW, what do you call it? CMU, thank you. A CMU block wall or a decorative wall, I can't remember what it is.
I'm not seeing it.
Okay,
I thought that I had read and maybe I misunderstood that they were doing tall trees or something like that.
there is landscaping that will be, so you've got, do you want to click on the landscaping?
Are you guys, to the applicant, are you guys doing a CMU wall or what?
So it was my
kind of
understanding that
fencing?
Oakwood was fence,
And they very well could be.
that they were doing, yeah, the residential
Doing
fence.
their-
We ourselves were not, but it was Oakwood.
Okay.
So I would have to look at the village plan and pull that up as far as what fencing is there. I know there is a fence there, and it's outlined in the Wander Village plan.
Okay,
Again, I can verify that.
thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner McConkey. Any other comments or questions from the commission? I will entertain a motion.
So I will do 2 motions, since we have the site plan and the preliminary plat. I move forward to the city council, a positive recommendation regarding the Holiday Oil Saratoga Springs Plat A subdivision preliminary plat, located generally at the southeast corner of Redwood Road and Pony Express, as outlined in Exhibit 1, with the findings and conditions in the staff report dated May 26, 2022.
We have a motion from Commissioner Kilgore. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Kilgore and a second from Commissioner Anderson. Do we have a question on the motion?
I have a question. Forgive me for not listening to everything you just said. We're doing a condition on the separation distance? Is this part of this motion or the second one?
I did not add any conditions, I just went with what's in the staff packet.
Okay, you don't have any concerns with the, I didn't know if you had.
I can answer that for you. This is a motion on the preliminary plat, so just
Okay.
the lot. You'll want to make that as a condition on,
That was.
on the
what-
site plan.
wondering, Okay,
yeah.
Okay, so we're good with the motion then?
yes.
All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Okay, and then I also move to approve the Holiday Oil Gas Station, C-Store, and Car Wash site plan located generally at the southeast corner of Redwood Road and Pony Express as outlined in Exhibit 4 with the findings and conditions in the staff report dated May 26, 2022, with the additional condition of checking to see if the separation from the residential meets the code, since it's not specifically listed in the report.
We have a motion from Commissioner Kilgore. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second, motion from Commissioner Kilgore and a second from Commissioner Anderson. Do we have a question on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Aye, that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing for Fox Hollow neighborhood for general plan amendment, rezone, master plan amendment, and plan unit development concept plan. The area and size of the community commercial and R110 PUD zone and land uses are proposed to be modified, located approximately 3000 South Redwood Road. Mitch Vance is the applicant and Sarah Carroll is presenting. Is the applicant here? Would you like to come up and join us? Thank you.
Okay, that was a long description. There's a lot of titles for what's happening, even though it's not that big of a change. So this is Fox Hollow Neighborhood 4. It's currently zoned R110 PUD and community commercial, and it is in the Fox Hollow Master Development Agreement. And the main request, just to give a quick summary, is to change the boundary of the commercial and the residential. The number of units would stay the same, and the commercial acreage goes up slightly, but it's because on a previous exhibit they didn't include their roads, so it goes up from 10 acres to 10.71, I believe. And so here is the 2020 exhibit. So this is the orange is what you're seeing as the commercial, and then the yellow and green are the residential. And even though there's green on there, that was, so they will still have parks. It doesn't mean, the new map doesn't have the parks. The area is shown as green because they want flexibility in where those parks go within the residential area. And you'll see that on the concept plan that they still have parks. So basically you can see that the shape of the commercial is changing. This is the previous concept plan, so this was the 2020 concept plan. There were a handful of issues with this. And the 2017 and 2018 agreements said that the portion owned by SCP Fox Hollow, which is, see the red line there, so that separates the ownership. So it was saying that portion could have townhomes and the rest could have single family. And so what you see on that plan is, even though it is showing squares, those would be duplexes that would go on those. It had a handful of issues because it had just two extra units, so they had to reduce that. The streets that they were showing on here didn't meet our city standards, so they weren't large enough. And then they were anticipating private aprons. So the feedback they got on this plan was that the streets needed to meet city standards. They had to come down to meet the requirement on units, and that they needed full-length driveways, so 20 feet, so that there wouldn't be parking issues. And so this is the revised layout that they are proposing, along with the amendment that just shifts the boundary between commercial and residential. So what you're seeing here is townhomes in between the commercial and the single family. So rather than having the attached units just on the north, they're proposing those go along the north edge, but then also in between the commercial and the residential units. And then some variations are being requested. So they have rear-loaded product and front-loaded product. And these are the variations that are being requested for those setbacks. So basically the front setback, the MF10 zone says 25 feet to garage and 20 feet to front of home. And so they're asking for the rear-loaded product to be, and rear-loaded, so the front would be 15 feet from the street, and then front-loaded, the front would be 20 feet from the street. And then on the rear-loaded, they would have a 20-foot minimum setback, and that's to have the 20-foot garage driveways, as I mentioned. And then the front, it says 18-foot minimum, but they actually don't need that. So that can be 20, which would meet the code. And then here are our concept plan comments. So the concept plan indicates 380 8 units. The density complies with the master development agreement, which allows 335. And that development agreement has been in place since 2003 and then renewed in 2013. So, and then the density was in this phase was actually reduced. So in 2000, it's in this, the exact date or the year is in the staff report, but it used to be 512 in 2018. And then they actually went down in density or in unit count. So they went from 512 to 335. And then they have also transferred, it used to have 20 acres of commercial, and 10 acres were transferred west over by the future Mountain View corridor. And when they did that, they didn't ask for any more units. So then that spreads the density out further. That's why you're seeing townhomes and single-family lots rather than condos or some other, larger attached products. And then the open space is required to comply with the MF10 zoning for the townhomes. And then they also have a requirement in the Fox Hollow Master Development Agreement that they have to meet. All proposed driveways shall meet the 20-foot depth requirement. We don't want to give any variations on the driveway depth because we want to avoid any parking issues in there. And then the variations are being requested, as we mentioned. Guest parking is not shown and is required to be 0.25 stalls per townhome unit. There's a possible motion for forwarding a recommendation for approval, and then there's also alternative motions for a negative recommendation or continuation.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Does the applicant have anything that he would like to add?
Yeah, if it's okay. I think, first of all, I just want to say thanks to Sarah. This is a complicated neighborhood with a lot of different plans, and Sarah knows them. It's really hard to keep them all straight. And really what we're trying to do is just kind of bring consistency across all those plans. With each little tweak that happens to a concept, it requires a general plan amendment, a rezone, all that kind of stuff. So she's been really great at helping us through that. I also want to mention that I'm here representing SCP Fox Hollow. Ed Bailey is here with Cardinal Land. So they're south of that red line, we're north of that red line. And really this concept is changing as a result of, in the second amendment, it was kind of anticipated that we would act independently, that the townhomes would be on ours, and then the single family would be on Ed's. We got feedback from Sarah and others and the market and our own beliefs isn't great urban design. We would rather have a buffer between single family and commercial development. So Ed, we came with Ed and we're proposing that we do this together in order to get a better development. By doing townhomes, it also triggers that MF10 zoning, which includes amenities, so the open space. The other plan didn't have any open space. This has open space with amenities in it. And then overall, I think a better layout without increasing the density. We have 7 more townhome units than the other plan, but the density of those townhome units is the same or less. So I think the history is really important here, and Sarah laid it out in the staff report that we had 512 over 30 acres of residential. It got amended to 335 over 34 acres, and now we're proposing 308 over 44 acres. So the density is going down, and I think this is going to be a good and viable product for this property.
Thank you. Now, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to go ahead and open up to the public for comment. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes, no repeat comments. And please state your name and address. I'll close public comment. Okay, I'll close public comment at this time. And I'll turn this over to the commission for questions and comments. Commissioner Kilgore.
Okay. On page 3, we have some variances regarding the front and rear. And I was wondering, what does the front and rear look like that that required the, or the, that caused the request to reduce the setbacks?
Thank you. So, no problem. So this is a unique layout, but it's also a nice layout for a townhome project. So, one thing that they've done in this layout is place a street between the commercial and the townhomes, and rather than just have the townhomes line the back of the commercial lots. And then by doing so, they've made the front side of the townhomes, I don't have a way to point actually, but maybe I can, okay. Oh, it does, okay. Okay, so they've made the front side of the townhomes facing, east. So, and then they've made an alley so that the driveways will be on the back and the front doors will be towards the street. But then they've also created a separation with the street between the commercial. And so by having a rear loaded product, rear load would be the garages are on the back, and front load would mean the garages are on the front. So these ones over here, the garages would be on the front. So they're requesting those variations to allow the layout that you're seeing here. It is actually more asphalt because they're creating, rather than just tucking the lots next to the commercial, they're adding a road in between.
So in effect, it does create more separation.
It does.
Yeah, yeah, okay, because of that extra drive-through or road. Even though the setbacks are smaller, there's actually more, technically more separation then.
There is, because the backs will have 20-foot driveways plus a 16-foot private lane, where otherwise they would be closer together.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, thank you for that. And then, I don't know, this is probably just a guess, but when does the applicant expect to build?
Right, it's a great question. Whereas in previous amendments, we were amending for a variety of reasons, proposing a concept. This concept has been engineered, it's dimensioned, it's surveyed, and we anticipate to start preliminary plat as soon as these get approved, if they do. And so as soon as we get through the process, there's also other issues that we're working through city regarding the sewer. But we anticipate, we would love to get this plat approved at the end of the year and start next year.
Okay, yeah, the reason why I ask is you brought up history. The way just from my point of view, the history is that we've been going back and forth with amendments for about a decade.
Yeah.
And so why not just wait until it's time to build?
Right.
Because something else might change. But I could see that if this is a lot more engineered and there's other applicants as well, or partners that have, or colleagues that have agreed to this layout, then I could see that this is the one that we're going to go with for the most part. So, okay, thank you for that. And then the city code limits length and number of units for a shared driveway. So if this is for technical, so if the reason why we have the code for technical or safety reasons, how would the requested variation on that driveway impact the city?
I'm happy to answer that question. So one thing that you're seeing here is a street on both sides. So we reviewed this with our fire chief to ask if there were any safety concerns with this proposed layout. And because the private drive goes all the way through, it's not like a long cul-de-sac or anything like that. And then so the 150 foot is really so that the fire truck and the fire hose can get adequate access, and the fire department would be able to access it from the public roads on the outer perimeter. So the fire chief found this design acceptable with fire code.
He did. Okay.
Could I address that as well?
Yeah.
That's okay. From what I understand, this code that's being referenced is new, a week or two ago. The concept we put together, we reviewed with fire engineering a couple months ago. So had we known that was the code, we may have done it differently. But because we have public roads surrounding it, it meets their requirements. Okay,
So if that's the case, then why don't we allow it everywhere?
It's something, right, so the reference to the driveway code is something that we recently adopted. So we can And when we draft those, we do our best to consider every scenario, and then we got this. So we could look at considering other scenarios in that driveway code.
Okay. Now, if it does meet code, then that's great, no issue. But if for whatever reason, what alternatives are there if we didn't allow for the variance?
If we didn't allow the variation, so PUDs, planned unit developments, the ordinance in PUDs allow the Planning Commission Council to review and approve variations. If you didn't allow it, they would have to redesign to meet the standard in the code.
Okay, but the fire,
But the fire chief
You've said-
the fire chief approved this layout because they have access on the perimeter.
okay. I mean, that's the main concern is the fire hoses, reach any potential issue, so that's great. Just another general comment. It feels like in the past we've approved amendments, but as long as we place specific development standards. But then later on, the development standards are requested to be thrown out. And so it just feels like we agree to an amendment, but then we put in a specific development standard, and then a few years later, the request is, can we eliminate those, can we have a variance of those development standards? Is that a pattern, or am I just imagining that?
Well, a PUD is a different animal. We actually no longer do them because of things like that, because we want to avoid confusion. The PUD does allow for them to ask for variations in the code. And the interesting thing about the PUD is it takes a large amount of acreage, let's say 1,000 acres or something like that, and then it clusters open space and clusters density. So in this particular case, if we didn't give any variation, we're almost somewhat bound to give variations because of the density that's allowed. So and we no longer do PUDs because of that type of confusion.
Okay, because, there were several specific design standards that said, as long as you follow these, then we're okay with your amendment, and then, a couple times ago. But now it seems like we're...
And they actually are following the ones in previous amendments. So those addressed variations for single-family lots, but didn't address anything related to townhomes. And the ones that are being requested with this version are related to the townhomes.
Okay. Yeah, because the ones I was specifically referring to was the setbacks. Those were put in place to allow an amendment, but I guess that didn't affect this particular product.
So they are still meeting all of those previous ones.
Okay.
For the single
All right.
family, it does affect.
Yeah, okay, terrific. Also, on page 7, there's a note on open space 4, where it says it was a previously dedicated area for a trail.
Right.
So what is it now then? If it was previously dedicated for a trail, what's it?
It's still a trail, yeah.
You're just saying it was previously dedicated, okay.
Right, so they're just highlighted it on their plan. So it's within their original neighborhood 4 boundary. Fox Hollow is really interesting because the way their open space works, say you do a phase outside of neighborhood 4 and you don't have any open space in your phase, but neighborhood 4 says, hey, you have to do this much open space, then even though that's a different owner, they have to do open space over there. So the trail was done by other phases. The church up at the top of Wildlife and Village Parkway did some of this trail, and then part of, I think it was neighborhood 5 did some of this trail. So the trail along Redwood Road is complete, and then the trail in this purple area is complete, and those were done by other developers, even though they're in this phase.
Okay. All right, so I misread it because I thought previously meant that it's no longer, but I guess that's not the point, right? It was previously,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done.
Thank goodness for Sarah's extensive knowledge of the past, because it's always been the case. All right, the general plan land use map amendment from office warehouse to light industrial mixed unit, and then from mixed unit rezone from agriculture to MR8C/RC. Oh wait, what am I saying? No,
I think that's-
I'm reading. Sorry,
Okay,
I'm reading.
I was like, I think
I'm
that's
reading a
something
note that I
else.
made to myself, and I shouldn't have talked about that. Okay, another one. Are the connections to Redwood Road in the community commercial area approved by UDOT?
Well, that is a good question. I believe that they have been reviewed and meet UDOT spacing, but then the actual approval needs to happen with plans.
We have a stamped
Oh, you have it,
plan
okay.
from UDOT, and utilities are stubbed at those locations.
Okay, so unlikely that they will not allow.
Unlikely.
Okay.
Yes. Unless I lose that stamped plan, which I'm not going to. I have it in a special place.
Okay, terrific. That's it for me. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner.
What was I reading that thing?
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgore. Commissioner Anderson.
I appreciate Commissioner Kilgore's questions. Are these, and I like the barrier that you put between commercial and residential, the transition. Are the townhomes just 2-story? Okay. That's all the questions I had. Thanks.
Any other? Commissioner McConkey.
My question about fire marshal's thoughts was answered. So appreciate that. I almost feel looking at the paper picture, if you will, the plan, it seems that the commercial areas have one too many entrances onto Redwood Road. If Redwood Road's going to get busier, wondering how that's going to affect access and so forth.
Those
It
are
almost
things,
feels like there should be the access points on the two ends and not one in the middle or something like that.
so some of those things are a little bit tricky because we do all have our thoughts and opinions on it. We do have engineering standards and UDOT does have access spacing standards. So we are held to certain standards.
So if
So
they
even-
comply,
even-
then they,
Right. So even
that.
though we as residents might say, hey, we feel like that might be too close, UDOT has a standard. And if they're complying with that standard, our opinion can't change that. The only thing that could is maybe a traffic study that validated that there was some type of issue from that. We do require traffic studies at certain stages. So it's not off the table to look at that further, but I think it would be unlikely.
okay. Had some question about the open space. But first, part of it had to do with is that a detention or retention pond?
Detention.
Detention. Is that considered part of the open space or is it part of the commercial?
It's part of the open space.
Okay.
And it's a regional detention pond for the area. And this
We're using
area,
it as a dog park, is that
well,
what I saw
no, that
potentially, or was that?
did see that, and we have told them that they could not do that because we don't want to deal with that in a detention pond, especially where we have that then filtrating into the storm drain system.
Yeah,
So this dog park is the old plan, and we, meaning the city and Public Works, has said no to that.
okay.
So that will not be a dog park. So it will be a finished detention basin. It counts as the open, so this has 2 overlapping sets of open space standards. So the Fox Hollow Master Development Agreement requires 6.14 acres of open space within here. And then the MF10 zoning, because they have to meet that standard for the townhomes, has a requirement for open space. And those kind of overlap, but then the amenity points has to meet the MF10. So that will count as open space, but then you see their amenities are in the more central area.
Okay. And as part of the open space, the Redwood Road dedication, some of these notes I made several days ago, and I don't remember exactly what my thought pattern was there. The Redwood Road dedication, is that part of the open space?
That is a good
It looks
question.
like open space 5.
So it is,
So my
it is on
question-
their table as part of open space. However, that total is well over the 6.14 that's coming in at 12. So
Okay. So they'll
Good
still, when they
question whether or
widen
not
Redwood
that
Road, they'll still meet the open space requirements
Right,
or the desirable at that point.
right.
Okay, thank you. And then just talking a little bit about the commercial areas. What types of buildings and businesses and so forth are we? Now I'm having a brain cramp here. What was the zone again on this one?
This one is community commercial,
Oh,
and it doesn't allow it has a max building size. I'd have to look at Title 19 to tell you what that is, but it doesn't allow really big ones like you see in regional commercial.
Does it limits the number of stories?
Right. yeah.
Correct.
Do you want me to, I can.
If that's okay.
I can get that up. Yep, I'm happy to pull that up so we know that exact information. Okay, so community commercial has let's see, a building height of 40 feet
That's what I
and it does not have a maximum building size.
Just the height though is
Yeah.
40-foot height,
But-
and that's to the top of parapet or the ridge? Or is that
If
mid-height?
it's a flat roof, it's the top of parapet. If it's a pitched roof, it's midpoint of the gable.
Okay. So the townhomes and potentially the homes uphill will still have a decent view.
Yeah, and we also have in the land use table, it has some of the more intense uses are not allowed in the community commercial zone.
Okay, that answers my question. I think that was everything. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner McConkey. Any other comments or questions from the commission? I will entertain a motion.
Can I make one clarification?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I feel bad about how I answered Commissioner Anderson's question. These footprints are based off of townhomes that we've built. They're pretty big footprints. They're about 1,200 square foot footprints, 2-story. It's a product we built. It's Moda Vista in Weber County. That's what we're planning on. That's not to say that if we were to sell this, which I don't necessarily foresee, that it could, like, someone could come in higher. This concept is based off of a 2-story townhome product.
Oh, the maximum height, there's a maximum height of 35 feet though, so that's generally a 2-story building.
They have basements?
These ones don't. Slab on grade.
All right, I will entertain a motion.
So can I just make a quick comment here?
Yes, go ahead.
That's okay. So really, what the zone change is really very minimal.
It is,
What we're
it's very
doing here, and
minimal.
the impact of the zone change is almost insignificant.
Yeah, it's just changing the boundary between these two colors.
Yeah. Okay.
Commissioner Ryan.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm slow to react to make a comment really quick. Still kind of getting over 2 hours on Redwood Road. So I think actually ideally, to echo Commissioner McConkey's comments, I think changes are minimal, and I think what we end up with is a better layout overall with better forethought and distribution of the products. So I appreciate the work that was done on that. Just wanted to make that comment, and also to the staff, Sarah, for working through all that, because Commissioner Kilgore did very well going through the history around all of it, and there's been a lot that's been put into this over many, many years of the city. The one quick question I had is on the parking. It's not noted. Fundamentally change anything in your mind in terms of layout or what you would do with what we're looking at here today? If we can go back to that more detailed map or whatnot, but we're talking, I think, about 35 spaces or so.
Yeah, so I saw that comment. It'll require 34 stalls. We'll obviously have some in the open space, and I think we can fit it. We mapped it out a little bit, and we'll be okay. It'll bring our open space down a little bit, but we have more than is needed, so I think we can meet that requirement.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
If you'd like to lower it, that's great, but I think we got it. If not.
Thanks.
It's either that or Greenspan.
I will entertain a motion.
Where is it?
You gotta find it.
I move the Planning Commission recommend approval of the proposed rezones and general plan amendments for Fox Hollow Neighborhoods 4 as described in Section C of this report and as depicted in the attached exhibits with the findings and conditions in the staff packet below.
We have a motion from Commissioner Kilgore. Do we have a second?
I'll second
We
that.
have a second from Commissioner McConkey. Any question on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Passes. Thank you. I'm actually going to take a quick break and then 5 minutes? Yeah, okay, 5-10 minutes. And then we'll come back and finish the agenda. Okay, we're going to end our recess now and reconvene. The next item is a public hearing for Cliff Lake General Plan Amendment from office, warehouse, and light industrial to mixed use, rezone from agricultural to mixed residential, heavy commercial, and regional commercial located approximately 800 East Pioneer Crossing. Keith Lindstrom as the applicant, and this will be presented by Kent Page. And the applicant can come up and join us, yes.
So yeah, this is a general plan amendment and a rezone and a concept. I think the intent of tonight's meeting is to, first and foremost, to receive a comment from the public, being this a public hearing, and to receive the input, comments, feedback from the Planning Commission. The staff has met with the applicant on a number of occasions. So we recommend that, you know, this is a work in progress, but we feel like it's close enough that we could go forward to the city council if it meets your, you know, your comfort level and the comfort level of the community and the public. So it's a general plan amendment to go from office and light warehouse to mixed use, and a rezone from agriculture to mixed residential, heavy commercial, and regional commercial. This is located, I guess there's two addresses that we've received, but it's kind of on the border between Lehigh and Saratoga Springs, just on the east side of the river off of Pioneer Crossing. Here's the big overhead 20,000 foot map showing kind of the location of this proposed development. And this is showing the current land use of the property with the land uses of the adjacent properties. And this exhibit is showing the current zoning of the property with the current zoning of the adjacent properties. This is the latest concept plan that the applicant has submitted. And we'll get some more detail as we go further. This is kind of a busy map. We could spend some time looking at it and studying it. We need, you know, a legal description separating the proposed zones of mixed residential with heavy commercial and regional commercial. And they're proposing some townhomes, single family, senior tower condos, and senior exclusive apartments with some private roads and alleys. This is a photograph of a development that's about 20 years old, taken from a street showing some commercial property. The star indicates the location of where the photograph was taken. And our current code requires there be a 30-foot rear setback or the height of the building, whichever is greater, when adjacent to a residential zone. That's for heavy commercial, which the applicant is requesting. In this photograph, the requirement is for a 110-foot building setback with a 75-foot landscape buffer. This is about 20 years old. The applicant worked very closely with the adjacent property owners to understand their concerns, and it's been a very successful project. You can see that the loading docks are all to the sides of the property. And this is the front of the property. And this is in Harrisville. So we believe this is a good example of where you could have appropriate buffer between, commercial and residential, just for example. Staff's recommendation is to approve to the City Council the requested amendment to the general plan and the rezones with the findings that are listed in your staff report. Primarily that all conditions of the city engineer shall be met, including but not limited to those in the staff report as Exhibit 2. Jeff Pearson from the engineering office is here to address any questions you might have. Staff would recommend that a site plan shall be applied to comply with the standards contained in the Land Development Code for such request and any items contained with the City Council approved development agreement. That in that development agreement, you could get into very specific requirements for a buffer, between the mixed residential and the heavy commercial, which is a new zone that we've adopted in the city, replacing the office warehouse. And we recommend that an acceptable landscape buffer between the heavy commercial zone and the mixed residential zone be agreed upon between the applicant and the city and their associated landscape architects and defined in the rezone development agreement, which development agreements are required with all rezones. And then any other condition or change is articulated by the Planning Commission. So I'd welcome any questions you might have, and I'm grateful that Jeff Pearson from the engineering office is here to also address any questions you might have. We're grateful the applicant's here as well.
Thanks, Kent. Does the applicant, would he like to add anything to the presentation?
Well, I can answer pretty much any questions you have, but in there we have quite a few different senior products. That's mostly what we do right now is age-restricted senior communities, and one of them that's in your city already is right across the street from Patriot Park. That's one that we're currently building right now and just wrapping up right now. So that's in the bottom right-hand corner. That's going to be one of those communities. And then we've got our senior apartment over on the north, closer to Pioneer Crossing. And that's going to be, those both areas are going to be age-restricted and held to the federal guidelines. It's not ones where we say we're going to give to seniors and we don't. We follow the federal guidelines and make sure that we do restrict everything legally. That way we can discriminate against young people. All of our townhouses that we have there, they are going to be larger townhouses. We're going to have parks in between all of them that have different amenities for all the kids. We basically looked at it and said, if we were going to live here, what would we want? And so there's going to be swing sets in between ones. So there's going to be sandboxes, slides. There's going to be quite a few different public amenities with walking trails in between those townhouse sections there. And then, we had a few conversations with some of the council and mayor and staff, and they said they wanted to see a few bigger lots on there as well. So I think our lots range from anywhere from 8,000 square feet on the single family homes to 14 or 15,000 square feet. So we've got pretty much a big mix of everything and anything that you can have. And we feel that it's a really good design and something that will, look really good in the city and not be an eyesore in 15 years.
If I could add that this is, just a concept plan, so there's no investing on the part of the applicant or the city. So this is submitted mostly to just help us have a good discussion of some concerns that we could see before they go forward with a more, detailed preliminary plat, if a rezone is approved by the city. They have proposed, some connectivity between this property and the property to the west. The property to the west is outside of the city boundaries, and it's in some flood-prone areas, but it still could be wise to consider some connectivity if it be pedestrian traffic or vehicular traffic, particularly with block lengths that are over 1,000 feet. They are proposing a parkway, walkway through the area. I don't know, David, if you could highlight that area where they're proposing the walkway. I think it's the yellow, the most bright yellow. Yeah, and some walkways. So we think that's a good opportunity to provide a good product.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open up the mic for the public to make any comments they'd like to make at this time. You can come up and make it a question as a comment. Yeah, same thing. Just state your name and address, and then. and your
I'm
que-
Julie Hammonds, and I live on 312 Rocky Creek Way. My observation, I love those senior homes that you did.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry, I don't know if that's allowed to say, but love, so pretty. My question is, with the new ones that you're going to build, are they multiple levels still? Not still that yours did that, but I've seen other senior apartments that have 3 levels, and I don't understand that as a
So
senior.
our senior apartment.
Wait a sec before we answer. Well, I need to close public comment.
Sorry.
So make sure you're stay there, don't move. Go ahead and make sure you list out your question, okay? And then if there's anyone else who needs to make more public comment, we'll allow that. And then we'll go ahead and close public comment, and then we can address the questions. So let's make sure we understand what your question is. Can you say it again? You're wondering what the multi-story buildings are
If
going
it
to look
is
like?
going to be that, because
Okay.
like for seniors, I don't know if you're in a wheelchair or you're a senior person, how are you going to all those levels, which is
Okay.
what I never understood.
So that's how we're understanding your question correctly, that you want to know what the buildings are going to look like if they're be multi-story. Okay,
Multiple, if there'll be multiple
Okay.
levels.
great. Got it, thanks.
Me?
Yes, you can sit down. Is there anyone else who would like to make comment or questions? I'll go ahead and close the public comment at this time, and then I will turn that over to the applicant to answer the question about the multi-story.
Okay, so on the bottom right-hand side, that will be like our product over there by Patriot Park, where there's a bonus room in them, but not all of them have a bonus room. It's kind of an add-on if you want it. We are flirting with a new idea of doing a kind of a condo type one that's stacked, just a couple of them just to. Oh, sorry. We are flirting with an idea to do a multi-level one where we've got a couple of them shown on there on the top left-hand corner of that senior community, where it's going to be 3 stories with probably 12 units in an apartment or an elevator in each of them. It's something we're designing with the architects right now. We're looking into it. We want to have it a possibility here. It's not guaranteed that we will put it there. If we decide we don't like that concept, we'll just turn those 3 that's up in the top into our normal product. And then our senior apartment will be a multi-level apartment with elevators inside, and it'll all be an enclosed one. We've done one in Pleasant Grove called Grove Crest Apartments, which is another senior apartment that we've done, and that's kind of an example of what will be here at this one.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to open this up to the commission for questions and comments. Commissioner Kilgore.
Thank you. Oh, here it is. Okay. Well, first of all, will the senior apartments and properties, will they be available for purchase or for rent?
The apartments up on the north side will be for rent. The rest of them will be for purchase. Okay. So the bottom corner will be for purchase.
Okay, and are they? I don't know. You mentioned. I was going to actually ask you about how are you able to restrict it to seniors? And you answered some of that already.
Yeah, we
following federal regulations.
Yeah, we follow the federal senior guidelines. So.
Okay, and then as far as pricing, do you have an idea of what kind of, is it going to be kind of high end, especially if they have elevators, or will it be more moderate, or?
For the apartment or for the for sale product? So the for sale product, it will be the market rate is right now. So on the for sale product, there's only 3 of them that might have an elevator in them if we decide to do those multi-level condo ones. But the other ones, they're just, they have a bonus room if the homeowner wants it. So those don't have elevators or anything in them. But if the market stays how it is right now, my guess is they'll be in the $500 to $600 range. if the market goes up, they'll be higher. If it goes down, it'll be lower, but that's kind of where they're selling at right now in our Legacy Farms subdivision.
Okay. And I was just wondering if the city is not, whether we're thinking any of these types of properties as, products as moderate income housing, or if that's just not part of the consideration.
That's not been addressed at this point.
Okay. Thank you for that. In the section that says zoning compatibility, I think it's page 8, I believe. Yeah. On the second paragraph, it says the city suggests a landscape buffer between the heavy commercial and mixed residential zoning. How does the applicant feel about that suggestion?
I like to make communities look good, so I'm okay with, putting in different landscapes. That's kind of one of the things we try to overdo is the landscape in most of our communities. So when you go through them, 10 years after they've been built, they just look really beautiful. And so that's one thing we're big on. We over landscape, and it just kind of our business plan is to make something look good for a long time, and that's kind of how we like to do it. So we're not opposed to landscape buffers or things like that. We'd probably have something in there even if the city didn't say something.
Okay. So at this point, you're open to that suggestion then?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'd like to ask the staff then, if they don't do it, then what's plan B as far as suggestions from the staff goes?
That would need to be articulated in detail in the development agreement that would accompany a rezone. So staff would meet with the applicant and be in agreement before it's submitted to the city council for their consideration.
Okay. So we'll probably have an answer for the city council before it gets to them as far as this particular suggestion goes.
Correct.
Okay. Terrific. Motions, that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgore. Commissioner Anderson, and then Commissioner McConkey.
Yeah, could we go back to that image of the heavy commercial bordering the residential? You showed kind of an example of when you did that. You showed us the star where we that. So there's the picture. Yep, right there. So I've lived this in Orem on Center Street. They put a Target that bordered right up to the neighborhood, and it actually was met with a lot of resistance initially, and now it's become like a huge success. Like people love it now, but it. I actually pulled up a picture. If I can share it. This may look familiar. You were in Orem. You were probably part of this. You maybe can speak to this. Maybe you should speak to this. But this is essentially the back of the store. So on this, you see a barrier, and there's like that back street, and things happen back there, and trucks go back there, and shenanigans happen behind the store. What they did is they backed the back of the store wall right up against those trees. And residents were they were upset that there wasn't a barrier between such heavy commercial, but this has become a beautiful park strip, and families and kids, and it's quiet, and it worked really well, so much so that they love it. It's quiet. And I guess my question is, we have our setback requirements, but I would submit that this experience that's become such a positive thing maybe wouldn't feel as positive if it had that back alley. Does that make sense?
Correct. Yeah, I talked with an official from Harrisville today, and she mentioned that trucks aren't allowed to go back there, but it looks like from this photograph from Google that there are some trucks, but their loading docks are, to the side. So I think your point is well taken that, a wall or this building right next to the landscaping could actually be preferable to what we see here in this.
Yeah, and it's just a
Google
neutral
image.
color painted wall, and it's as tall as the store is, right? And then right next to it is this long, nice park strip like you're showing right there. And I think that turned into be a huge success.
Yeah, the applicant for, or the representative for Walmart in this situation, met personally with the residents in their living rooms and asked, what are your concerns? And based on their concerns, they changed the color of the backside of Walmart. They lowered the site plan, so it's a little bit lower in elevation. And then they put in this incredible landscape area. Of course, what we're seeing now is after 20 years of growth, but it looks very attractive and it's been a positive experience.
I guess my question is, you say, well, it's a 120-foot setback because it's going to be 120 feet tall. Like, I just wonder if, anyway, I don't know.
I guess one of the questions I would have for the applicant is, how big a building would a heavy commercial be compared to, a Walmart? Would it be a larger wall that we would see? But I think those details, would need to be worked out in a development agreement.
Yeah, we don't have those buildings designed yet on what we're going to put there exactly, but that's mainly because the new code just went into effect a few weeks ago and got approved. But, the other thing we do is we do those concrete composite 6-foot walls around all of our communities. So our senior community would have a 6-foot concrete wall as a buffer on their side, plus some landscape trees. And then on the other side, we'd most likely put a concrete wall and then have our parking, or our landscape in front of that. So it would be, it'd be separated with a wall as well, instead of just, trees and then the building, so.
Okay, thanks. That's my comment. I think it can happen and be a good thing if it's done right. I just think it can be done well. I don't know if that's it, but.
We plan to do it well. Our long-term goal is we're probably gonna hold all of the office or the heavy commercial ourselves long-term, so we're gonna make sure that it's a good-looking product and well-maintained, so.
Yeah, this is just one thing we'll add into the proposed development agreement, and ultimately it'll be the city council to decide if that's the policy decision they want to make. Certainly makes sense with that type of commercial. Yeah, I mean, in textbook planning, you don't put heavy commercial next to residential, but a lot of times you can't really avoid it. Our code does even contemplate that. It says, we understand that, you don't put these together, but the times where it may not be able to do that, or we talk about that in the code. And so through the development agreement, we can come to an agreement with the applicant to say, let's put a nice landscape buffer here, or, the type of wall, whatever it may be, just to help, buffer those future uses from the residential.
Yes, it's been my experience that it's not so much what we do, but it's how we do it. It makes a difference. But it's hard to regulate being a good neighbor, but it's easier to write a code that has these strict numbers and standards.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. We'll go to Commissioner McConkey, then Commissioner Ryan, and come back to Commissioner McConkey.
Thank you. You'd have to have that drivable space around, I'm sure, to satisfy the fire marshal anyway. But so I'll start with the first thing. On page 6 in the report, it states the city has also expressed a desire for more warehouse use and more regional commercial use. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought that we were wanting less warehouse use as a city. That was my understanding.
We wanted to limit it to certain areas, and this was one of the areas that in the general plan defines it as the office warehouse, the old office warehouse.
Right, just in that space right there. The other thought that I have is if we recommend the zone change to city council, we're removing some of the non-residential zones that we have, and our city, of course, is limited on that space. So I have hesitations doing that. It's in the general plan. Have a hesitation recommending a change of something like that and changing it to residential. Also, question: can we the heavy commercial is a new zone, right? Can you remind us what the heavy commercial includes and what can be located in the heavy?
Oh, boy, top of my head,
I don't have that in my cheat sheet.
it was kind of like the old office warehouse light version. There were some building size restrictions. Some of the uses were pared down as well. So it kind of will function like an office warehouse, but on a reduced scale.
Okay. What? Yeah.
So I have this in the staff report, and I think this may be I apologize if I didn't find anything better in our land use code, but this is on page 3. At the bottom of page 3, it says the purpose of our newest zone, heavy commercial, is to allow in appropriate areas buildings designed for office, retail, recreation, and warehouse flex businesses, as well as other compatible uses. This zone supports opportunities for commercial uses that also need warehouse space.
Okay, and then the current zone is light industrial. It says office warehouse, which you don't have office
The
warehouse.
current zone is agriculture.
Is
General plan.
the use.
Yeah, can't go to the general plan page there, the current general plan page, Kent. Is that what you're asking there? Okay.
This is the current general plan is office and light industrial, and the current zone is agriculture.
And the light industrial as opposed, I'm really hesitant with the heavy commercial, to be honest with you. Changing the use. Yeah. So what's included in the light industrial currently? If we compare that to the heavy commercial, it would be office space, obviously, right? Some office space.
Yeah, I mean, under the current general plan you see here, although we don't do the office warehouse anymore.
Right.
This was originally, before that change took place, someone could have come in here and taken all of that gray and requested, when you could
Office
have
warehouse,
office
which
warehouse.
thankfully they did not.
So actually what we're redoing, based on, before the change took effect, you're actually reducing the amount of square footage for that type of use prior to the office warehouse change.
So heavy commercial is basically your light industrial and office warehouse without a distribution center. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, let me continue with my questions here. Are there any issues with the soil types with heavy buildings on here from the engineering standpoint? Are we aware of any?
No, it's similar to North Shore. Most of this is going to be placed on fill. Any bad soils will be, removed.
Okay.
The
Structural
you
fill.
can see in North Shore that a lot of those large structures have been constructed, and but it is susceptible to that. So that's something we'll be looking at when we get the geotech report.
Okay, thanks.
And we have done a geotech report and nothing showed up bad on that.
Okay. And what's the maximum height in the heavy commercial as opposed to maximum height industrial? Is that the same?
I'll look that up for you here so I get you the right info.
I know I'm asking a lot.
Heavy commercial was 40.
Appreciate it.
Heavy commercial building height is 40 feet or 45 feet for buildings that consist of 50% office space or more.
Okay. And then light industrial is the same? What code section is that?
Light industrial is a general plan category, not zone.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, because it's zoned agriculture right now.
Yeah.
So light industrial, the zones that fit in a light industrial,
Was the office warehouse zone.
which no longer exists, correct?
Right, we're going to work on something, They are. Something to come back, that's the next goal. One of the next goals for code amendments is to come up with some sort of light industrial zone to probably take place of what was the office warehouse, but, tweak it again.
Okay. I think probably my biggest hesitation is just the heavy commercial. And there's probably my biggest hesitation and losing, especially along the frontage of Pioneer Crossing, losing some of that nearer properties for some more office use.
In the front will be regional commercial, is what we've got
So-
planned for.
And go back to that map again.
Can you show
Dave, can you,
the proposed zones?
thanks for your help.
I'll try.
We're gonna give you lots of work before you leave.
So, is that where you're?
Yeah, so there in the front, there's about 9 acres, I believe, of RC zone, so what's that, the?
9.39 acres of regional commercial is proposed.
So we're looking at the regional
And then,
commercial.
and then how much is along that property between your property and the and Pioneer Crossing?
So the area that's just outside of your property,
And on the general plan? Is that all?
Are you talking about what's along Pioneer Crossing there?
Yes.
Some of that belongs to UDOT.
Yeah, so UDOT's got an 80-foot strip for widening the road.
So those two parcels between your property and Pioneer, is that UDOT property?
The blue is UDOT, they have 80 feet. Next to it to the west is Richard Chew. That is extremely wet wetlands right there.
Yeah.
So that cannot be developed in the future by any means. So that, yeah, that's kind of,
Yeah, that blue strip there is owned by UDOT, and I believe this red one too. Is that one also UDOT? There?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
their concept plan takes into account a master planned road connecting up to Pioneer Crossing from the south. If you could highlight that, or you could probably see it.
I think at this point, I'd just love to hear some of the opinions of the other commissioners. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner McConkey. We'll go to Commissioner Ryan and then Commissioner Kilgore. Commissioner Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So one of this is getting way out ahead of our skis, but I just kind of wanted to get a general idea. It's neither here nor there for what we need to do tonight, but are each of these viewed as separate communities in and of themselves? Because we have like amenities, we have like a pool here, a pool there. So I'm just kind of wondering like the cohesiveness of the communities themselves.
The two senior ones will be exclusively their own community. They don't like to share, so we kind of keep them as their own communities. The others where you've got the townhouses and the lots, that's all going to kind of be one big community with, so there's going to be the pool on the corner there with the big pavilion. That's going to be opened up to all the townhouses and all of the single-family lots, and all of the park areas in between all the townhouses will be opened up to the single-family lots as well. So it's going to be kind of a big HOA to help maintain all of that land and keep it looking nice and pretty and well-maintained, so.
Okay, I appreciate that. I know that's down the road. I just kind of wanted to get a better picture.
No, that's perfectly fine. That's what we're planning.
The next question I have is
Mr.
more.
Ryan, maybe
yes.
you could see that, but the area between the townhomes, that's proposed to be open space.
Are we talking
green.
about the yellow strip there?
The yellow strip, that's supposed to be kind of a parkway.
Yeah.
But in between the green townhomes,
Oh, I see, yeah.
it's going to be open space.
Okay, I see. Thank you. The other quick question is more so for the city, just making sure that we're not getting ourselves into any corners or setting ourselves up for any precedents on the block length. I appreciate that explanation that was in the staff packet. We have a may and a shall that somewhat conflict with one another when we have language. Fred, I'm looking more your direction. Make sure that, we end that paragraph on block length with a staff at least encourages a 15-foot walkway, and that to me is not very strong language. If we really want to make sure that we have that and move that forward, I don't know if we need to strengthen that or at least include that. Granted, it's in the finding thing here, but I just thought that was interesting that we have bit of a conflict. I understand why. It's because of that property that we just mentioned that you really can't do anything, the connectivity of it all. But just want to make sure that we felt like from the city that we're aware of what we're doing, don't want to walk ourselves in corners, or if we have a conflicting language there in the future, just something to be cognizant of. And then my last thing that I was interested in, Commissioner Kilgore, as he usually does a great job of covering things and instilling the thunder for the rest of us. But on the landscape barrier, or the buffer, I guess is what we're calling it, I always get really worried. I don't know why I know why I'm a stickler for language, but when we put in terms like worked out, I get really nervous in terms of protecting the city. Our job is here to look out for city and what we're doing. So my definition of what may be worked out for me is not what may be worked out for you as the applicant. So I just want to have some assurances from both the city that we feel like we're protecting ourselves adequately from, I don't know why I keep cutting out, sorry, or from the applicant, that indeed, it seems as if you're amenable. There's probably things in the future that, again, don't want to get out ahead of the skis, but we actually look at like cladding and what's going on, possibilities of lowering elevations to really kind of just make it done right. So I don't know, Fred, if you want to chime in on any of those things that I've mentioned, but just to feel like we're sufficiently protecting ourselves, that the language there is we're comfortable with when we use terms like, we really kind of hope it's 15 feet, and then, well, we hope we work this out at some point. I just kind of worry that.
Yeah, if I could interject.
Yeah, I can, please.
We would appreciate your feedback. That's part of the purpose of tonight's meeting is what is an adequate buffer to you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what does worked out mean to me as it means to you? Yeah.
Like I said, we're probably going to over landscape this just because that's what we do, and we're going to hold those. And it's a lot easier to rent a space to somebody that has with a pretty building and pretty landscape than it is for an ugly building. So, we're looking to hold that heavy commercial long term, and so we're going to make it, look good for the city and for the tenants and everything. That's something we're completely willing to work with, and
I think it'll come, and we have some of those conditions right in what we're doing here tonight and being able to do that for you. So I think that'll all come. I just want to start the dialogue, make sure we kind of get on the same page with each other is what we hope those mean. And then to Commissioner McConkey's comments, I appreciate his thoughts and concerns. I think what we've done with heavy commercial, it's a bit of a misnomer, to be honest. I think when you say heavy commercial, it starts denoting like some awful things we don't want to have happen in the city. But when you look at the descriptor, I feel more comfortable with it. It's just, you asked for some opinions. That's my opinion. I feel like the description, so long as we understand, that's clearly defined as was included in the packet there on page 3, I feel better about it. And then I think you had comment on residential units going away as well. Was that correct?
So one of my concerns is that we have the land use assigned office and light industrial, and we're taking away that and turning it into residential. So we're creating more residential in areas that we've already designated as non-residential.
All right. I understood the reverse of that, so I appreciate the clarification. Okay. Perfect. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Commissioner Kilgore.
Just want to ask, with Commissioner Anderson's comments, do you want that as a condition, to look into that, what you're talking about, or the comments are sufficient for you?
I mean, we're talking rezone. We're talking rezone, so we don't need to make that a condition. But
Okay.
I do think I think it can be done well and done right.
And then Commissioner McConkey asked for comments. I feel that the applicant has sufficiently met the requirements of a legislative action in terms of, what the code allows for and those things, and aren't really asking for anything that would violate like safety or some of the things that we can intervene in or deny or things like that. So although we have some work that we could probably work, and until the city has some kind of metric where we're really looking at, we're starting to run out of non-residential uses for some of these things. It's really hard to say whether, it's on the applicant that we decline these or recommend disapproval. So for now, I just feel like the applicant has met the requirements that we have for these kinds of actions.
Chair?
Yes.
Some of the details that I could see that would be helpful to iron out in the development agreement would be like idling trucks. what time dumpsters can come. Where I live right now, I usually can set my time, know that it's like 6:15 when I hear a dumpster, crashing through. And of course, the refuge companies would say, well, we have to get to so many businesses. We don't have enough time to deliver or service everyone in between, 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. But, those are some of the details that, the devil is in the details. And I don't know how much we could get into that with the development agreement of, idling trucks, time of day that they could be servicing the area, if it be refuse trucks or just delivery trucks. Those are some of the conflicts that I see. And we're talking with Harrisville, they're just mentioning that right now they have an issue with some of the garbage that's blowing around. And I guess you can find that almost in any neighborhood, but it seems like there's more of a conflict between commercial and residential when they're close together.
Your heavy commercial zone does kind of limit the kinds of uses that can go in there, so you're not going to be seeing as many big trucks. You'll still have a few here and there, but you've eliminated the big things like the distribution centers and things like that, so it's going to be more of a mixed of front retail with office warehouse in the back and things like that. So the multiple semis every day and things like that, it kind of limits that with that heavy commercial zone.
And also, even the current zone, we would have those issues as well, right? So there's really, making the change won't affect that part of it. What has to go into should go into the agreement. So I don't think that would make any difference whether it's the current zone or the new zone. So yeah, I think that's why I feel that the applicant has adequately met the requirements, and there's really not much more that we can do other than take those comments that we have and then try to work something out where on a code basis or the city has some kind of way to look at how much we have left and whether we're hitting some minimum point where we need to really hold back. But I don't think it's up to the applicant to have to deal with that at this point because we don't have those kinds of standards.
Yeah, we could definitely look for some guidance from our economic development director and see if this is appropriate balance between mixed residential and regional commercial and heavy commercial.
Commissioner Burns, and then back to Commissioner McConkey.
So I just wanted to also state that just the same thing. I am more in favor of commercial use and less in favor of putting in more residential. But also, there's not really a lot we can do about that. So, yeah, that's it.
Commissioner McConkey.
I appreciate your opinions. I've kind of vacillated back and forth. The concept plan in and of itself, I think, is great. We certainly need some more, and could use some more senior living areas. I think that there's not only a demand for it, but I think that there would be it would be, I don't know, maybe more responsible for us to provide some of those opportunities. Some of us will probably end up in those here soon, but I think I was looking at you.
I've only have one replaced knee. Don't put me in the grave yet.
Certainly the applicant, I feel the applicant's gone through his due process and done what they can. At the same time, I look at, of course, right now the city's going through the general plan update and really looking at what really, even beyond what do we really want where, but what would be responsible? Where would these non-residential areas be most responsibly put and most attractive, but also most successful? And that's really where I look at if the general plan has, we've already designated some areas, then did we designate those areas as a city because we felt like that was the most strategic place, or what was it based on? I don't know. But what I don't want to have happen is that we're allowing areas to turn into residential because we don't have anything else that they could be other than the general plan, and then to find out that we maybe shot ourselves in the foot and we become a more bedroom community than we really wanted to as a whole community. And I think one of our goals right now is certainly to, live, play, work here. And I would add and love it here. And whatever we can do to foster that and, set the community up for success, that's really what my desire is. So, and I think that's a lot of what drives hesitation to approving moving things from the residential or non-residential to residential.
Thank you, Commissioner McConkey. Kent, could I get you to go back to the general plan slide? That one. So when we're talking about when you drive through that area, you look out that direction from Pioneer Crossing, and there it looks like a lake. Where is that located? Is that on the Chew property?
Chew's does have a lot of water on it right there next to the road.
Okay. So that's what we're looking at? Yeah, well, yeah, it's before the curve. You can kind of, I think, see where the office is, where it says office?
It's
If you
right
go
on-
kind of just above it,
Yeah.
I think it's in that area that looks like a basin. I don't know.
If you look at the old aerial images, there was a large pond there and it's been dry.
Oh, has it? Okay.
And that was a break in the canal from Scott McLaughlin to water his cows. So that's been fixed and that's all right up there. But there is, on Chew's property, there is a lot of wetlands there.
And his property is north of where it says office. I thought it was on the other side of Pioneer Crossing. I didn't realize it was.
He's got, Richard Chew's got a lot of land.
Okay.
He's got 100 acres there. He's got probably another 100 acres across the street next to McLaughlin and going up. So he's.
Yeah, those are his mink sheds on the north side.
All right. So now go back to the other slide of the proposed mixed-use area, right? So I want to make sure I'm understanding everything. So the whole thing, we're saying this is mixed use, and then within it, we have the the mixed residential.
I'm just, nothing about this is a mixed-use zone, it's mixed residential.
Oh, no, what?
So the proposed zones are mixed residential, which are on the left side or the south.
Heavy commercial and regional commercial.
Right.
Mixed use is a zone too. We do have that.
But we're not trying to make this all mixed use, correct?
No, the zones are, as Kenneth said, the zones is mixed residential, which is what North Shore is right nearby.
Okay.
And then heavy commercial and regional commercial.
So I have an issue if we're calling this mixed use because warehouse is not permitted in mixed use. That's why.
Yeah, when there's nothing about we do have a mixed use zone. There's nothing
But
proposed
it's not
here
part of this?
for a mixed use zone, no.
Okay, because it was kind of confusing reading through this because a couple times it refers to mixed use and then mixed residential. So that's why I'm asking. It says mixed use. Well,
Mixed use is the land use, is the proposed land use, not the proposed zone.
but still under the,
We're going for RCHC and MR. So.
all right, so when I looked under the mixed, so this, now you've got me even more confused.
So the staff,
This staff report does use the word mixed use several times.
Does it? Okay.
And so I looked up stuff, what's allowed in a mixed-use zone and what is not allowed. And one of the things that's not allowed in a mixed-use zone is warehouse. Right. So
Yeah,
that's what we're changing the general plan to mixed use?
No, the general plan I'm looking at the code right now, under the city code, we have a land use designation of, where to go here?
According to the staff report, the land use is being proposed to be changed to mixed use.
But that's
Correct.
that's at the general plan level, not a zone.
Correct.
Correct?
Yeah, the zone is what establishes your standards and your permitted
Right.
uses. And the zone would be mixed residential.
Well, for the residential part,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just reading the proposed motion, and it says, I move to recommend to the city council the request to amend the general plan and map from office and light industrial to mixed use, and then the next part is rezone from agricultural to mixed residential on the acreage, blah, 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 okay. I share Commissioner McConkey's feelings about changing this to residential. I'm not particularly in favor of it. I'd like to see it remain as something commercial. We've lost a lot, and a lot of stuff has moved more to residential. What kind of example is part of the Oakwood Homes project? Well, it was called Jordan Promenade, but Wander now. That was supposed to be a business park, and we lost that. So I'm kind of concerned about that as well. Live, work, play. We got the live part covered. We're working on the play part, but we need to do something with the work. That's all the comments I have. Anyone else have any comments they'd like to add before we go to a motion?
The other thing is we are surrounded by mixed residential on a couple of our sites there by D.R. Horton. So we're going into the same land use area, whereas if once D.R. Horton's built out, if that does go to Horton Industrial, heavy commercial, or or some other zone like that, you're going to get a lot of public clamor, and it's just going to get nasty.
Yeah, just looking at the map here for North Shore, the land uses on North Shore, well, I'll pull the map over, you can see it. So this is North Shore all throughout here. You've got mixed waterfront, you've got neighborhood commercial, you've got medium density, you got some office warehouse. So when North Shore came through, and this has been 4+ years, I don't recall the reasoning, but it looks like the underlying general plan designations were not changed when North Shore came through. Again, general plan's a guide, it doesn't have to be false, so you don't have to match. Probably the more appropriate would be for the concept plan here would be, what's the overall density on the residential section?
I think we're 8, but that includes our senior apartment. So if you take out our senior apartment, we're closer to, I believe, 6.
Then it'd probably be more appropriate just to call it medium density residential if you're going to change the general plan, because that's what it would really fall under, would be MDR. But North Shore has shown us as well that you don't need to change it to put the mixed residential on top of it, but.
Well, they also gave us a potential boat dock too. That was another reason they got a little bit more density and stuff in that area.
So it'd probably most appropriate would be just call it medium where the mixed residential zone is proposed.
I think that does limit us on what we can do if you go to medium density with shifting bone or densities in different areas.
Commissioner McConkey, what was it this one that Facebook was complaining about? Just recently, the public clamor against the high
This is
density?
one of them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not completely opposed to turning some of the south end into a residential, but it would have, and this is just my opinion, but preserving at least half or the large majority of the areas that would be provide the greatest access for commercial, to be attractive for any commercial. I just feel like we need to preserve that capacity and ability for that to happen.
Okay. We have Commissioner Ryan and then Commissioner Kilgore.
I appreciate the discussion, and I think the one thing that helps balance for me is the variety in the product itself, in that it's designated senior, living accommodations. I think that helps. It is residential, understood, but it also helps diversify, right, what we're trying to bring into the city and provide in the city, especially with, we have a younger population that slants younger, provides opportunities maybe for grandma and grandpa to come this way. And so that helps me a little bit with some of this discussion, and I appreciate the discussion so far. The other thought that was on my mind is we're talking about one of the major, I think it was Commissioner Anderson, I don't want to steal his words, but one thing that he said a few meetings ago that, probably more than a few meetings ago, but it stuck with me is the corridors that present themselves into our cities and what it is that we're kind of putting into those corridors as people approach and come in and out. And so I think that's important as well, part of this discussion.
Commissioner Kilgore.
I also appreciate the discussion, and I completely agree with what's already been said, preserving those areas. I mean, my concern had been with lake access. I'd like to see more attractions for the play part. Instead, we keep getting residential to the point where we have very little left to the water, to the river, or to the lake. And so that is a concern. Unfortunately, especially in previous discussions where we had similar discussions with the Planning Commission, our city attorney and Attorney Donaldson could validate this, is that we really have no recourse unless we had some kind of, I shouldn't say recourse, because again, the applicant is doing what the applicant's supposed to do. And unless we have some way to tie the change to a safety issue or a health issue, there really isn't, even though it's a legislative action, there isn't a whole lot that we can really do. And unless somehow we put some kind of standard, maybe a measurement of how much non-residential that we need to have in order to achieve some of our goals as a work, play, live, and that it's kind of like Proposition 6, where there are actual numbers that we have to look at to see if we're meeting those requirements. And if an application comes in that's over or below or whatever that number is, then we have grounds to not approve. But right now, we don't have that. And we should have this discussion, definitely. And I totally actually agree with everything you're saying. It's just that I don't think it's on the burden is on the applicant. Because right now, the applicant is simply following the rules and has met those requirements. And the issues that we have are not related necessarily to safety or to health or meeting some of those other general requirements that we have. And so that's why I am in favor of approving the recommendation, because the applicant's done their part and they met their requirements. And although it's legislative, we don't really have an actual code that we can point to say that the applicant is not meeting that. And so that's my comment. I don't know if you agree with that, Attorney Donaldson.
I would just clarify that, where this is a rezone decision too, and where you've been discussing, the desirability of changing the general plan. You're changing the general plan too with this. And so all of it is legislative. And so you do have a lot of discretion. So, I just want to make that known. You do need to confine it, but it's also a recommendation to the city council, they are the legislative body, and you're kind of just making a recommendation to them. So,
Mr. Chair, may I?
Go ahead.
I appreciate that. And one of the things that I've said to a number of neighbors and so forth is when the city creates a general plan, keeps it updated, that's our ability to help guide the growth and development of the city in the direction that we feel is going to be best for the community. And so, a landowner has a right to do what they want to do on the property, but it's a general plan, and it's the adopted zones and land uses that provides the city the ability to provide that guidance. And that's, I feel, is what we're doing here is we're either changing and redirecting, or we're retaining the guidance that's already been established.
Okay, before I entertain a motion, I'm just going to make a couple comments, and this is for the Facebook crowd that attacked us for pushing for high density. First of all, as the Planning Commission in a rezone capacity, we make a recommendation to the City Council, and the City Council is a land use authority, and they're the ones who actually or deny or approve motion, the rezone. The other thing is none of us up here work for developers. That's another thing that I always say on Facebook, that we are in the back pocket of developers. We are not. We're citizens of Saratoga Springs. We applied to be commissioners of the Planning Commission. We were interviewed by planning staff and by the mayor and the city council to be here. Most of it, all of us, I'm speaking for myself, I guess I should say, serve because we love serving our community. We love doing this kind of stuff, and that's why we're here. Actually, we're representing you, the people of Saratoga Springs. And I just looked on YouTube, and there's only 4 people watching, so that's disappointing. Because all of these zoning experts on Facebook telling us what we should be doing are obviously not watching. So I'll end with that, and I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'd like to make a motion to, I gotta get on the right page here. I think I skipped to the next project. I'd like to make a move to recommend denial of the Cliff Lake GPA and rezone request with the findings below in the staff packet based on the effort to retain the current general plan.
We have a motion from Commissioner McConkey. Do we have a second? I'll actually second that. I want this to go to a vote, so I'll second it. Do we have a question on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, all opposed, say nay.
Nay.
So that's 2 to 3, so that fails.
3-3.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's do a roll call vote. So all in favor, or actually,
All in favor of the denial, right?
of the denial, yes. So Commissioner McConkey, what is your vote?
Yay?
Yay.
Aye? Yeah.
Commissioner Anderson, how do you vote?
Nay.
Commissioner Cunningham, yay. Commissioner Kilgore?
Nay.
Commissioner Ryan?
Nay.
And Commissioner Burns?
Yay.
Okay, so that means 3-3. So because we don't have a 7th person, this goes as a non-positive recommendation. Is am I correct?
No recommendation.
No recommendation.
You don't have a positive or a, pro.
Okay.
Or nay on it.
I'm good with that.
So 3-3? Is that-
Yes, that is correct. And I think the next item,
Am I done?
yes,
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks.
thanks.
Thank you.
Next item is a public hearing, the Vivano at Saratoga Springs Community Plan, Village Plan, part of the City Center District Area Plan, located approximately 400 West Pony Express. Matt Baldwin, Property Reserve, as the applicant. And then Kent Page, Kent, you're presenting this one as well?
Yes.
What?
So this is part of the district area plan called the City Center. This City Center District Area Plan was approved in 2010 for 16,000 units. This is approximately at 400 West Pony Express Parkway. The applicant is Matt Baldwin, Property Reserve. The acreage is 42.82, and the dwelling numbers is approximately 298. So here's an overall view of the city, or most of the city, and the orange and yellow star indicates the general area of this proposed development right off of Pony Express Parkway and a little bit west of Redwood Road. And it's across the street from the middle school or kitty quarter from the high school. This exhibit shows the city center district area, the two areas, kind of the downtown area to the north, and then the bigger area to the south. So it's just an overview of where a community and village plan fit in relationship to the district area plan and the preliminary and final plats. We have the district area plan, which breaks down to a community plan, which then breaks down to a village plan, and then finally a preliminary and final plat approval would be needed. Here's the definitions of community plan versus a village plan. Village plans are general and conceptual in nature. However, they shall provide the community-wide structure in detail to determine the size, scope, intensity, and character of subsequent and more detailed village plans. So village plans are detailed plans for the development and implementation of an entire community plan or individual phases or sub-areas of a community plan. And this is the kind of the place types that are identified in city center district area plan. And the place type that this application identifies is the town neighborhood with a dwelling unit density range of 6 to 34 and a range of open space of 13 to 15%. Here's an overview of some master transportation, conceptual master transportation of the city center area. You can see the temple kind of on the south, and then we have this community and village plan area along Pony Express Boulevard on the north side. This is kind of a detailed concept plan that's being proposed with we recommend it be a little bit easier to maybe follow some of the units if we had color coordinated legends. So a lot of the slides that we're showing have quite a few red lines, but we have the hope that they can be worked out. But that's, we also, it seems like it could be reasonable if the Planning Commission would want to have these real red lines maybe better clarified and continue this discussion, at a further meeting. Here's their amenity plan that they're showing. We encourage them to have access to the property to the east, and they're planning to have a pedestrian trail, as you can see. They're unsure what type of property will be to the east of this site. It'll probably be commercial in nature. Here are building types. And this is the phasing plan that they envision. And this is a detailed lotting plan. Again, it'd be easier to follow if the legend was color-coded. And it needs just to verify, the exact numbers of each lot or number of lots. And this is a parking plan, which we've gone over quite a bit with the applicant. So it appears like that they've taken good consideration of the parking requirements to meet our current code in Title 19. Again, the requirement is that they meet Title 19. If they do not want to meet Title 19, then they need to specify, they would like to have kind of exception through this community and village plan under their district area plan, but they do need to meet the district area plan. And my analysis is that they do meet the district area plan. And this is their fencing plan. They're proposing to have a 6-foot precast, concrete fence. They're on the north side along Pony Express Parkway that would be located on top of maybe approximately a 2-foot-high berm. And that area, that parkway, landscaped area between Pony Express Parkway and the townhomes would be owned and maintained by the property owner. Here's their open space plan and their landscape plan and their pedestrian plan, their fire access plan, and then the last is some suggested or proposed or possible recommendations that you could make to the city council. Benson, right? I believe you have a presentation you'd like to share, or that's...
I believe your mic is on. You can start whenever you're ready.
Yeah, my name is Benson Whitney, and I'm here on authority from Matt Baldwin. He's my boss. Just want to show a quick little video. This video is Viviano of Riverton, not Viviano of Saratoga Springs. We will be making one of these videos for our marking here for Saratoga Springs. But I just wanted to show it to the Planning Commission because it does show our programming and our homes and what the community is going to look like, and it gives you a better feel than just the 2D render. Nope, I'll just kind of commentate as we go through. Yeah, if I could just click and stop it. Yeah. Which, all right, so this is our entrance coming in, if you can stop it right there. So all our entrance, our main entrance coming into all of our Viviano projects don't have any garages. They're all alley loaded, so you get this great entrance fill coming into the subdivision. Go ahead and start again. So we'll have, the one that we have here in Saratoga is not as long as the one that we have here in Riverton. So you can stop right there. So this is a gated community, and I know that gates, we don't think that Saratoga Springs has a crime issue or anything like that, but it just, we use it as almost an amenity and a sense of arrival. You can see that we have a gate here on the left and on the right, and then it does a trapping. So when people come into our leasing office, they actually have to go in, talk to a leasing agent. At that point, they'll put them in a little golf cart and drive them through the community to pick out the type of product they want to lease. So we do, it is gated on the left and the right, and you can see these are not a big fortress gates. It's totally walkable, and we have a total connectivity, and it doesn't, put people from inside out. It's more of just of an amenity, just like our monumentation sign. Go ahead. This is coming up to our basic programming of the clubhouse and the leasing office. This is the exact same clubhouse that we are planning on doing here, but we'll probably change up the colors and some of the massing and the gingerbread on front of it, so it's not completely the same. We have a 24-man hot tub coming in, and then a big swimming pool. And then we have little islands on the side of the swimming pool. We are planning on putting a lazy river and a splash pad. We have these cabanas on the side. You can pause right there. So our main goal of this is to have something for every demographic of kids. So you have your little kids that can play in the splash pad, then your 10, 11-year-olds in the lazy river, and of course, people that just want to be lazy. And then you have the main swimming pool area. So go ahead and continue. So coming down, we have our pickleball court and our other programming into our main park area. Same with our tot lots. This will be pretty much the same that we have a tot lots for youngers all the way up to 12 to 13-year-olds in this area. So we programmed it with that in mind. Then we have our open space that's right behind our leasing and clubhouse that you can play Frisbee golf, whatever you want. This right here, these are our outdoor kitchens. Each outdoor kitchen has a barbecue grill, water, and electricity. So if you want to do a slow cooker or something of that nature. We're very concerned about connectivity, that everyone can walk to the clubhouse. You can pause right there. That's another example of our outdoor kitchen. And so all of our walkability corridors, in each little quadrant, we have an outdoor kitchen here again with a gas barbecue grill, water, and electricity. So go ahead. So this, we have it divided up into 3 different products, and you'll see the 3 different products in here. We have our single-family homes, which we have here in Viviano, Saratoga Springs. And we having a 2-story and a Rambler, and we believe the ratio of that is 3 to 1. And then that product right there, 6-pack, we are not doing that anymore for other reasons. Right here, you can see our dog park. You can go ahead and keep on playing. This is our dog park, which we have here too. We have one for small dogs and big dogs, which we found in a market study that's very important to have with the dog wash. You can see to the left and to the right, these are our townhomes. And some of the townhomes have this Rambler unit on the end, which gives a diversity of our townhomes. One thing that we are doing different on this one than we're not doing here is that we are not doing the 6-pack, and we're putting it down to more like a 4-pack. And those are smaller homes, so we can get the price point down lower, and they're only 1-car garages. Because of that, we do have carports for parking, also just because it doesn't meet the parking requirement.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so I'm going to go ahead and open this up for public comment this time. I'll go and close the public comment as there's no one here to make a public comment. And I will open this up to the commission for comments and questions. Commissioner Kilgore.
I'm just writing a question I just thought of. Okay. Thank you for that presentation. It's a beautiful community that you're trying to create. Just wondering, there was a comment in the staff packet, and I was wondering if the staff has received an explanation regarding the applicant's phasing plan and statement that the project will be built in a single phase, although the application showed multiple phases.
I can answer that, if that's okay. So we are going to build it in phases. So that was just a misnomer, a miscommunication. Once we start, we just want to keep on building, but we are going to build it in phases just to hit asphalt dates. And so we're building this product out in Riverton. So hopefully by the time we get to, when we get to our final plat, 'cause obviously we have to come back again for the platting. This is the second to last step. It'd be great to go to the clubhouse. It should be done in Riverton about a year from now. But what we're doing in Riverton, we did phase it, but as soon as we get done with phase 1, then our horizontal, they start on the sewer on phase 2, and then they start on the sewer on phase 3. And so we're just doing it systematically so we can get people into the subdivision. We are going to start pre-leasing out in Riverton of our single-family homes in about 3 more months. And so we'll have C of Os for our first 18 homes. And so if in order to do that, and then at that point, we're going to deliver 18 to 20 homes every month for leasing until the project's fully leased. So that's kind of the phasing, but we are doing it all at once. We're not waiting.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
And then just want to confirm, you said all 298 units will be rentals?
Yes.
Okay. So then will there be an HOA?
So no, it will be owned and operated by us, and we have our own property management company, and it will be turned over to asset management, and they'll be managing.
So then there isn't an HOA fee for the lessees. They simply it's included in their lease cost.
Correct. So it's literally like an apartment complex. It's all included.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was wondering because if it was an HOA, if they don't pay their HOA fee, but they don't own the home, then you can't put a lien on them or anything like that. But this way, they have to pay it as part of their rental agreement.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And then oh, I should have gotten the page. The guiding, let me find the page here. Because it takes a little, okay. The guiding development standards, number 3, on page 8 of the, one of the plans. I'm not sure which plan this is. It says, setback in yard requirements, internal project setbacks. Oh, the asterisk says that they may be, the minimum building separation can be reduced if additional building code measures are taken to address fire code. And what kind of additional measures?
I can answer that. And so if you are closer than 10 feet from building to building, you have to do a 2-hour firewall. And we're not planning on doing that. It's too expensive. So we're going to keep the minimum side yard setbacks at 5 and 5. So you have 10 in between homes. It also says in there that our front setbacks or minimum are going to be around 10. But if you look at about 75% of all of our units have a 20-foot driveway on it, even though that's not counted in the parking calculation. And so our setback is going to be 20 feet. We don't have any snout homes. And so the homes are leveled pretty close, as you saw from that. And so the only places that we would really have that front yard setback smaller is just when we have those, our little 4-pack. Also, the rear backyards is we really want, what's great about single-family homes for rent is they get to say they live in a home. And one of the benefits of living in a home is actually having a backyard, having a usable backyard. And so in order to have a usable backyard, we have to have a minimum of 15 feet in the backyard. And so we've kept that standard throughout this project.
Okay, and so again, thank you for that explanation. I also just wanted to check, it sounded like the plan was just talking to itself that we could make these changes if we meet codes, but I'm expecting that, okay, and I am expecting our fire chief will also be able to.
Yeah, and the 2-hour firewall just makes our costs go up.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then, okay. And then page 41 of the community plan, village plan, are the parking, oh, yeah, there were some parking issues, I think that were brought up. Have they all been worked out?
Yeah, the diagram or the exhibit we're showing is the latest from between the applicant and the city. So most of the questions have been answered. There's a few that we still need to work through.
Okay. But no obstacles then at this point? No concerns?
Especially if, I mean, because we have 29 feet of asphalt. And so even though we're not showing that as parking on the road, it'll still meet fire code on one side. We also have the 20-foot driveway, and we're not counting that. But if I'm living there and my grandma or my brother wants to come visit me, he's going to probably park on our driveway. We also are not going to allow overnight parking on the driveways. And so our manager, our on-site manager in his little golf cart will be driving around checking up on that.
Okay. And some of the townhomes that you had shown, any of that considered moderate housing or moderate income housing, or is it, I mean, is this part of a gated community and all this? I just wonder if.
So that's a really good question. Yeah. And in our analysis, we're really excited about this product. And one of the reasons why is when we present it still has to pencil. And so when we present it to our board, we have 2 metrics that we show them. And one metric they want to see is that we're at least 20%, our rents are going to be 20% of what it costs to buy a home. And that's putting 20% down so you don't have to pay your mortgage insurance. Mm-hmm. Right now, because of interest rates going up and home prices going up, our latest pro forma on this shows that we are going to be about 35% below what your monthly payment would be for a home right now. Just a year ago, when interest rates were 3 and house prices were lower, it was our delta between our rent and what you to buy a house was 20%. So just in this year, it's gone up 15%.
Okay, so it's not necessarily moderate
income housing, but it is a lot cheaper than if they were to buy a home. So you could afford something of the same type at a lower financial.
Exactly right. And then if you compare it towards an apartment with the same square footage, we are about 10% more expensive than apartment complex square footage per square footage.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgore. Any other comments from the commission or questions? Commissioner Burns and then Commissioner McConkey.
So I find it interesting that this is a development that's owned by a church, but there's no church in it.
It's for the endowment of the church. So I work for City Creek Reserves. And so it's just like how we've done City Creek. And City Creek Reserve has done apartment complexes around the whole world. We have them in all back east, California, Arizona. And so this goes for the endowment. I mean, farming is good and it does, well, but be a better steward. It's better for the endowment.
Right. So y'all aren't expecting these people to go to church then, or?
Nope. Just like City Creek, anyone can. It's just come in and you can shop at Lululemon all you want.
I think she's referring to the need for a church.
Because you're putting in a lot of housing.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
So we have talked to the church department, right? And we're looking at 3 in that area.
But not within this subdivision?
No.
Okay. Okay, that's all.
Sorry, Commissioner Byrne, I just didn't understand that.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Commissioner McConkey.
I appreciate of course, the concrete fence along the north side. I think that is good. Helps with the visual appeal of driving down Pony Express. Also appreciated the presentation. Based on what we're seeing and so forth, I feel like it's done a great job achieving the goal to make the community walkable and this overall district area plan. I had a couple questions. One refers to, I'm assuming it's pronounced a Paseo home, or I think Kent put
We
call
go
it
to
a
patio.
home.
Yeah.
What can you define what that is? Is that just a
Yeah,
slab on
so-
grade, single level house?
It
or-
is a single family level house, and it's a little different because these have the garages in the rear, but we want to give them a place that is their backyard. So there is no backyard. So in the Paseo home, they have a side yard. So we're going to give them a deck and a side yard. We'll have a 0 lot line on one side. So we make sure we don't put any windows or anything like this on this side. So this side of the Paseo home or patio home acts as a fence. And then this other house where on the side will have the deck and their yard. So they have a nice big side yard that they can use because we're hiding the garages in the back. So it's just a nomenclature. They've done it in Daybreak. I don't think it's...
I've never heard the term before, so I didn't even know what.
Right.
Tried to Google it, and it came up with some developments, but I couldn't make any sense about.
It's interesting. I don't know where it's come from. I do know that in Daybreak, they have Paseo homes, and those are... I think also it just means that you have a general courtyard area, I think.
So are these floating lots then, these Paseo homes, or are they?
So that's really interesting. We haven't gotten that with Jeff yet on how he wants us to plat this out. In Riverton City, it's just one big lot, like an apartment complex.
Then you just maintain your separation distance.
Yep, and we just make sure we hit fire code. However, we're also doing this in Arizona, and they wanted us to plat them out, which I think would be harder for the tax assessor at the county. It's easier. It's just one.
Sure.
And we're happy whatever the city wants to do. That hasn't been talked about yet.
Okay, and so this is just that cluster on the left.
Yep, just the
you're
entrance. It's
showing
just the entrance.
there.
So there's not that many of them.
Okay, I appreciate that. I had a similar question as the other development down south about the access points into into the subdivision, and I'm assuming that the answer to that then from the city engineer or whoever is that they comply with this, or Pony Express is a state road, correct? And they comply with,
Yeah, it's actually a city road.
Pony
but-
Express is a city road?
Mhm. But the goal is to hand it over to the state eventually. So we are trying to meet all of
I thought
their.
it was already a state road, okay. So the separation distance then between the two access points is acceptable for the long term?
Yes.
It was in the middle, and we moved it further to the west to make it accessible.
Okay.
I think that's something around 800 or 900 feet.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. I think we already talked about the driveways a little bit. Has the non-compliant driveway note on page 23 of the development standards been resolved? I don't remember what that is right off, but.
Can you repeat your questions?
On page 23, there's a non-compliance note.
The driveways with 20-foot minimum between face of garage door and back of sidewalk may be counted as guest parking spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a requested deviation from our code, that our code doesn't count driveways as parking spaces.
And the parking calculation did not. We took them out.
Yeah.
It did at one point. And then we were way over parked.
Okay, so without the driveways, then
Yeah, they meet the requirements for their
the
parking.
guest parking is taken care of without the driveways,
Correct.
is what, so that's been resolved. Okay, thank you. On the landscaping, Saratoga Springs has perpetual, of course, problems with certain kinds of trees, maples and so forth and so on. My question is really driven by just longevity for the beauty of the community. Is there, I noticed some notes that were made. I don't know if they were recommendations or if there's some specific requirements or adjustments to the long list of trees and plants and so forth to include only those ones that we know are going to be around for a long time and not just for 6 months or a year, like a lot of people's in the area.
For the landscaping plan, I found some of the proposed landscaping not to be in our recommended list, but we've had their proposed landscaping reviewed by Rick Kennington, our park superintendent, and he's made a few notes, and so he didn't seem overly concerned, about what they're proposing. That's on page 40.
I guess my question would be if the applicant will be following the recommendations.
I was going to say, if this city has recommended, the landscaping trees, this is something that we're not super passionate about or something we're die on the mound for. So obviously, if the city has any recommendation of better trees or things of that nature, I know I do not like planting evergreens. Every park I've done, I put an evergreen, it dies within,
They do here.
Yeah, so if any recommendations, we'd be happy to follow it.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. Lastly, the district area plan talks about creating, like I mentioned before, the walkability community, which is one of the big goals of this whole district area plan, which according to my understanding includes walkability to shops, eateries, certain commercial spaces, and other neighborhood supporting elements. So my question is, where we're not showing anything, this is kind of a little private community here. Where's the developer plan to place these non-residential elements that support the district area plan?
So that's a really good question. And we are working with staff right now on the district area plan. One of the big, and what we have on it right now is just basic a bubble plan and changing things around, especially with this going in there. The problem that we're facing, and we'll overcome it, right, is that we have 1,200 acres in this section, and this only represents 2%.
Right.
And we weren't really planning on building this here. We were actually planning on building it in on Pioneer Crossing, excuse me. So we're planning on putting this there, but per Mark Christensen and staff, they came back and said, that's where we want our community center, that's where we want our commercial, our office space. Please don't put that residential there. And so based on staff recommendation, we did 4 or 5 site plans. We pulled it from there and we put it here. And so we, as a company, weren't planning on really doing anything in this area for 10 years. We were planning on farming it for the next 10 years and really focus on that parcel off Pioneer Crossing right there by the Costco. And so this is kind of out of our planning, but we wanted to follow recommendation from the staff and from the mayor and from Mark and not put residential in that area. And so we are a little ahead on the planning area. Like I said, this is only 2%, but I'm sure as we get into the district area plan that we will, find walkability, connectivity. Like I said, one thing great about this is that we have connectivity going out and walkability going out. We've already know that we're going to put 3 churches in this area that we definitely would want connectivity to those. And so those things will get worked out.
I appreciate that. I want to point out just a few things, and I really appreciate you sharing that. Those that are involved in the whole planning thing, staff, those on the steering committee and the general plan committee and the council and commission and so forth are excited for a lot of what we're hoping will come. And you guys obviously are a big player, own and manage a tremendous amount of land, and are really key to helping the city preserve a lot of what the residents want to preserve here. There have been some huge disappointments looking across the street to the east. Very much for many is a huge disappointment, and there's tremendous hope that on the west side of Redwood Road that might not be the case, that the feel of the city would be retained in some way, that the walkability would include not just homes, but some visual appeal that would also be lucrative to the developer and so forth. I'm also grateful for the efforts that have been made to make some adjustments in your plan to help accommodate the interest and the excitement of the city. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner McConkey. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Commissioner Ryan.
So I just had a comment on that, like that last comment. How's that any different than what's on the west side? I mean, we're just stacking them and packing them, same that we're doing on the other side of the road. I mean, essentially that's what this is.
It is. Right now there's a huge open space, and I'll share my opinion for what it's worth, and it is my opinion. Certainly, we have a landowner who has vested interest, of course, in a financial benefit, but also appreciate the efforts that they make and the interest in also helping build a community. Having the homes stacked as they are on the east side, as I was, and it really hit me the other day again, driving down the road, the change in the whole feel was, to me personally, it was a disappointment. Love to have people move here. This is a great place to live. I'm not going to discourage anyone. We all moved here and love being here. What my concern is that we just simply have a long row of neighborhoods and houses on the west side that look exactly like they do on the east side. And that long stretch in Redwood Road corridor now becomes a completely different environment than what most of us appreciate and love about Saratoga Springs. And so what my hope is, in my little brain and desires, is is while what's on the east side is set, on the west side, I'm hoping that the developer can help the city to come up with a way to help enhance the visual appeal, if you will, with a mixture of uses and whatever, in a way that would be win-win for everyone. So, is that too many words?
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the thoughts. It's the same entity that sold the land on the east side that gave you what you have on the east side now, right?
Yeah.
And this is a separate entity that is in the business of making money. So,
Yeah.
you know, we have to realize the incentive structure. We hope it's a good partner. It's proven, you know, hopefully that would be the case moving forward. As with any developer, I just think, I'm just stuck on Commissioner Kilgore's comments earlier about we're picking winners and losers, and we just have to be very careful, I think, on how we approach it and understand what's happening. I did have the one question on this slide up here, and it's probably an unfair request, but for me, I'm always interested in, the thing that drives me nuts in Utah is we'll develop certain parts, and then you come in 40 years later and it's an entirely different product / feel / you know. So it sounds as if we're taking this piece of property that was not intended to be built for 10 years and now we're suddenly building it. Is the idea being that in the surrounding area, we're going to see these fields remain open for 10, 15, 20 years, so then standards or likes, dislikes that will come in, surround it, will make it kind of stick out, be a bit of a sore thumb? It's the note that says compatible land use should be sought with the parcel plan, you know, and what we're trying to do. So do we kind of put this island out there, I guess is what it would essentially be, right? This development, which I think is a beautiful development. I appreciated the presentation. I love the idea of being able to have the lease option for people to come in, right, at that next affordable level. I was appreciative of that discussion and how that came to light tonight. I'm just worried that we'll build this as an island, it'll be out there, and then we're going to stick all these different looking things around it in the future when we get to it. Does that make sense, or is that fair?
No, that's a really fair comment. And when we develop these, and so we have one in Arizona and one in Riverton, those that we like is because it is walkability to not only amenities inside, but amenities outside. That's one reason why we really wanted to be off of Pioneer Crossing, because we really liked it being next to the Costco, next to the Fat Cats. It felt like it had a different vibe. We know that you have those hospitals going on across the area right there, and in the hospital office complexes from University of Utah Health. So we really liked that spot to put it there. And that was exactly reason why we wanted to go there, is because of those amenities. We're really lucky in Riverton that we literally walk across to a Costco. So I guess we like to put it next to Costco's. We also can walk across to a Zupa's and to an Orange Theory and also to a TJ Maxx, which if my wife lived there, she'd be there every day. So it is an amenity for us. And just to let you know, Commissioner Ryan, we're keeping this forever. And so we are now having an investment in this. This is going into our portfolio. It's going into the reserves. And so it's really interesting now that we're owning it, we are trumping things that are going around us. And maybe we weren't too judicious as we should have been. That's before my time, across the street on the east side. But with us owning this and being in the portfolio, we're going to care exactly what goes around because it's going to affect our investment. And our investment in this is going to be anywhere on our preliminary budget, $120 to $150 million. That's not including the land. So it's a huge investment for the portfolio. And so we're going to be very, very eyes on. So now, even though it is an island, we do know to keep momentum, to keep people interested, they're going to want those same amenities that you want. And so we're going to try our hardest to bring those there and make it walkable and things of that nature. So the good news is that we are aligned on what we want to see there and go there. For example, and this is a bad example, but in Riverton, we own the property around there, and someone came in and wanted to offer to put a car wash right next to it. And we said no, because that's not what we want right there. And then someone came and said, hey, we want to put a bank there. The bank we almost sold to the bank, but we said no. So we're being very judicious. I think they want another Zupas or something, but we'll just wait and see. But they're analyzing and say, look, we're putting all this money in this asset that's going to keep for the next 100 years. What do we want to go around? So I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised, and we're going to be really good neighbors. We'll probably be some of the best neighbors that the city will have. And so it will have a different function and a different feel. So I think it is in our best interest to put those amenities and put those pieces together so it's not an island forever. But that process and that phasing, I don't know. If you notice you can't see it here, but on the aerial, we've put that side right down to the last pivot so we can still farm it. So it is kind of funny.
Yeah, I did notice that on the.
That they still want to, so we still want to be good stewards of the land, and we still want to be able to use it and farm it. And we might have to move the pivot a little bit because we were asking for a half width, and I think engineering wants us to put in the whole road. So we might have to move the pivot a little bit. But regardless, we are still going to be doing and using the land until we figure out what's going to go around it. And hopefully we can get stuff quick because it would help our project.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. Thank you. The only other thing I had is just on the product offerings, the townhomes and then the Rambler on the end. That's a popular product? Like people like? Because I'll be honest, when I saw that, my first reaction was it looks strange. It looked a little bit better in the video. I think I caught glimpses of one or two of those in the videos, but I just wanted to know if that's really people are like, oh yeah, that looks awesome, or that's popular.
So it does two things. One, visually, and we have our architect here. If you have any questions for him, but visually it breaks up they call it plane relief. So you're not just looking at this roof line that's just straight. Okay. So visually it looks better. Also, I mean, we are going to put in ADA, and so obviously these all are going to have basements. So even though it is a Rambler, it will have a basement, and so it meets that motion of a master on the main. And so masters on the main are very, very popular right now. And so most of the townhomes, I don't think one townhome has a master on the main. Does it? No. So it's just those in Rambler units. So it does two things. It puts a master on the main, makes it more walkable, and it's visually more pleasing. You're not just looking at this straight wall and the roof line breaks down. So it looks nicer.
I appreciate that. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. I just had a couple of questions. You said one car garages. Is that all the units or just certain of the units?
Yeah, just certain units. Every unit has a 2-car garage except for the ones that you can see that are right there on the far right. So those are our smaller units. They range between 700 square feet up to 1,200 square feet. And they have just a little 1-car garage. And then next to it, we have another 1-car garage. So they kind of makes like a duplex.
Okay.
So is it the orange or the 1-bedroom townhomes?
Yeah. And Ross can opine on that better than I could.
It's interesting. My sister is looking for something like this to rent. And she probably would, it's just her. So this is something that would be perfect for her. And she wants to live out here. Once approvals go through, about how long is it going to take to start working on something like this?
So if
3 or 4 years? Or?
No, it's actually, once we start, we can get our first phase in the clubhouse. We want the clubhouse built. That from our horizontals takes about 6 months. And then as we pass fire code and our fire flow, we can go vertical. And then and that's another about 6 months. Our clubhouse is taking a year. So we'll have from the time we put a shovel on the ground to when we can actually have a C of O of a house is about anywhere from 12 to 14 months of our first phase. And then we'll deliver chunks as we build it in a kind of conveyor belt system.
Okay.
Give me her number. We'll put her on the waiting list.
I might get a number from you before you go. The other thing is I'm glad that it's not on the corner of Redwood and Pony Express or where Foothill and Pony Express meet, because those I think will be busier and
they're prime commercial areas.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm thankful that it's not there. I will go ahead and entertain a motion at this time.
What are my motions? Mr. Commissioner Ryan, I move to recommend approval of the Viviano at Saratoga Springs community plan and village plan with the findings and conditions in the staff report and based upon the discussions in the evening dated May 26, 2020.
We have a motion from Commissioner Ryan. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second from Commissioner Anderson. Any question on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, so next is approval of minutes. Do we have any changes we need to give to our city recorder for our minutes?
Hey, Commissioner, can I leave? Sorry.
Yes, you can go. We have enough. Thank you for coming. I did want to tell everybody that came late, thank you for coming. And even though we had enough, you still came anyway. I'm glad that you were troopers and made it through the traffic and got here so we could have the meeting and conduct our business.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Ryan, I move to approve the minutes dated Thursday, May 12, 2022.
We have a motion from Commissioner Ryan. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Kilgore. Any question on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That passes. Reports of action this evening. Do we have any reports of action? Oh, yes, I need to turn you on.
Oh, yeah, no reports of action tonight.
Turn your mic on. Okay. No reports. Commission comments. Any commissioner comments?
I had a question. So we have sign standards. Now, when the signs are in the windows, like at Wiggly Wash, for example, where they got the windows and then they got all kinds of signs, is that something that is part of the, is it regulated or is that?
Window signs, yes, they are.
They are, okay.
Yes.
And then,
You want us to look at something, just to make sure
Well, I
they're
was just
okay?
Wiggly Wash, yes, please go look at Wiggly Wash.
well, I was thinking, windows are really big and the whole window is covered in a sign.
I've thought the same
And
thing.
so I was just wondering,
Yeah, 100% coverage is no. And so we can have
100%
our,
coverage of the window?
I want to
They're
say,
pretty close to 100%.
Yeah.
Are
I
they?
mean, it's almost like one of those, like a van where the back window is covered, but it's see-through for the inside people, but not from the outside people. So I just, because it seems like that's a huge sign. And a lot of retail stores are doing that, so I was just wondering what that. if
yeah, a
that's
lot
part
of,
I know
Ha-
Sweet's
happens a
covered
lot.
theirs at one time and they've taken them down because I think code enforcement went out and said something to them.
But I really noticed it with Wiggly Wash only be, and I hate to just, pick on them, but the building's this big, the windows are like this big, and the whole thing is, and all of them are all signs. So it's almost like maybe 2/3 of the whole side of the building.
and it says here 20% of the area of the individual window in which the signs are.
Yeah, it's like 100%.
At Wiggy, you said was one of them?
Yeah, that's at least one of them.
Okay.
So, again, I hate to just single them out, but I was just wondering. And then, so I know Pioneer Crossing is UDOT, but is there anything that we can do about the landscaping, especially in the median? I mean, it's just basically gone to wild.
And anything governed by UDOT is run by their, so we can't force them to do anything.
Have they said anything? Because they keep other areas or other thoroughfares really nice, except Pioneer Crossing, and the median is just like.
We can always suggest it and, hey, can you do something about this? But ultimately, I mean, that's about all we can do is
Yeah, 'cause
ask them.
fabric cover is coming off, rocks are falling into the streets, all the trees are gone.
They have on their app and website, you can report an issue,
Okay.
and they're actually pretty prompt about responding
Are
to
they?
it.
All right,
Yep.
great.
Maybe let's
All the way
make-
from
try
like
that route.
potholes, cracks, all the way to things in the median like that.
Thank you.
And they call me.
Barrels on roads in rush hour.
Yeah.
That should not have happened.
That's it for me.
Thanks. On the app, the city has an app to report deficiencies and stuff, and I've reported a couple of sprinklers in the park by me, Shea Park, and they, within a week, have it fixed, and you get an email that says you've turned it in, and then an email that it was resolved. And then I've gone by when the sprinklers are on and the sprinkler has been fixed. So the city
Nice.
does a pretty good job with that as well.
Awesome.
I also wanted to say thanks for all you've done for us, Dave, over the last 5 years. Really enjoyed working with you. I'm going to miss you.
Oh.
But I do wish you good luck on your new endeavors there.
Appreciate it, and I'll just, take my time here anyway. And same, I really enjoyed working with the planning commission. 5 years have come and gone quickly, working with you. We move on, so.
Life moves on, that's for sure.
Parting words of wisdom, like regrets.
I think we're going to allow.
Get a good night's sleep.
Don't take too long planning. meetings.
And if anybody's in Eagle Mountain gives you trouble, let me know, because I know council members really well. Really well. Director's report.
Wait, I have a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Tippy's not here anymore, but if anybody is on LinkedIn, you should read her article. Did you read it, Ken? Yeah, fantastic job.
You wrote for the planning organization? Is that
Yeah.
it? Yes.
Yeah, did a great job on it. Short, sweet. I think I've got a sister who's been heavily involved in refugees for her whole career. And just fantastic. Just kudos for her article and the girl that she reported on.
Where
So,
was it? Where
It's
was
on
this?
LinkedIn.
It was also,
Oh.
it was for the National Planning Organization.
Yes.
that it
Yeah,
was written for.
the APA.
So it was on the city's like LinkedIn page, or how did you come across it? Or from her profile?
Yeah, from her.
That'd be great.
Tippy also presented a session at the National Planning Conference last month, too.
Oh, awesome. Mr. Chair, I just had a quick comment as well. I just wanted to directly thank Director Stroud as well. So thank you. Sorry we chased you away. We'll do better hopefully in the future. But really means a lot.
We'll
So
meet you up on the golf course. How about that?
there you go. That's a deal.
Yeah, those books you've got, those were given to the city from I believe the Urban Land Institute. Who's on the spine there? It tells you who.
Utah Land
The
Use.
Land Institute.
Utah, yeah.
Thank you.
We're having a test on that next meeting, so.
Yeah, take it for what you want. You know, if you're having trouble falling asleep at night, you know, maybe crack that
Ken will
open.
give us a rundown on
But
read it.
This Craig Call, the Craig Call that authored this book from Utah Urban Lands Institute, he pointed me to this example of a good buffer.
Oh, good.
He was very impressed with
He did
how-
what was that?
Was he the first Utah ombudsman?
Yes,
Because I've heard him speak. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think he
he's-
spoke at the planning thing that we went to last fall.
yeah.
One quick follow-up question. Has your successor been identified? Or was that announced at the start that I
yet.
missed? No?
Yeah. I have one more question too. Remedy on the sewer capacity that's been exploded on social media and so forth. Is there any update or news or efforts that the city is making or can make, or we as residents can?
But you read the
Push
city's
forward.
press release.
I
there-
nominate Ken to address that.
It sounded like Jeff was about ready to answer, so let's let him.
Well, pretty much summed up what's happening right now, that it's developer driven. So the lift station has to be developed, constructed and designed by developers. And so those developers are working together, and we understand that they're coming close to being able to submit a design. And then at the same time, the city projects are moving forward. I think the article said that the city's trunk line that we're installing will be done in a year.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I think the article mentioned that the city trunk line is anticipated to be installed within a year.
Oh, okay.
That's about right. So once that lift station goes in and the trunk line goes in, that opens up everyone upstream of that, but downstream of more bottlenecks, which are, the down Redwood Road, there's some smaller 10-inch lines that need to be upsized to 21-inch or 24-inch. And so the developers upstream of that will be responsible for doing those. But it's mainly developer driven. We're kind of just trying to work with them to get it.
There's a big misconception, of course, that the city is responsible for a lot of those things, and that's not how, it's part of why I'm bringing it up here, is it's not really how that works. It's
Exactly.
not the city's responsibility to,
Right.
put in 50-inch lines for cover the next 100 years of development.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
Right, one correction that could be made as to what was said is that the city's not accepting any more plats in that area. Well, that's not true. We can accept them, but that just means that they need to come up with their plan of how they address the sewer.
right.
So it's not really us putting a stop on development. So that's kind of the message that was thrown out there, or people who don't pay attention to the details, that's what they pick.
Thank you.
Director's report, anything?
Nope.
When's your last day?
Today. Well, tomorrow.
Oh,
I'm still working tomorrow, but I start there.
He's
Wednesday.
already blanked out.
Oh, okay. Double duty in.
Do we have a need to go into a closed session?
We do not.
Then I will adjourn this meeting until June 9th, 2022.
Well, thanks, Dave, for
Thank